Yes! Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Welcome back. Happy Thursday. I hope your week is unfolding beautifully. We have an amazing stream planned today, and thank you for joining us early. Your boy is getting out of town tomorrow because we're getting married. So this will be our last Thursday together without a ring on this finger. Probably. You know, we still got a couple days left. We can hope for the best, and we do. I'm just teasing. So we are here early today because we've got a couple of errands I got to take care of this afternoon. The tux, the bank, bunch of things. So we're doing that. So thank you for joining us early, but we have a great stream. Quick preview on what's coming up. Then we'll zoom in on the details. You see here, we're going to go back to California, the Ninth Circuit, because Trump wins again. Remember, he won the original ruling on this. Then they asked for the full panel, the en banc ruling, and they got denied on that. So they had a vote yesterday, and Newsom loses again. So pathetic. But we'll read through this because there was a big fat dissent here, and we'll go through a little bit of it because they're explaining that it's a disaster. Everyone's going to die now. Trump has unfettered access to deploy the military all across the streets on made up pretenses. And so we'll go through this, but we also have more. You may have seen this in California where they are just handing out driver's licenses like it ain't nothing. Well, we saw a horrific crash that took place yesterday, and it turns out the person behind it is another illegal. Jashanprit Singh, a semi-truck driver. This guy right here. And the video is just brutal. And the news was playing it, so we'll share it with you. But it's just brutal. Horrific. Somehow got a CDL license being an illegal alien. And now 3 people are dead because Gavin and the rest of them don't want anybody to come in and touch their top key constituency, aka illegal aliens. So all that is coming up. We got some reaction to this. We've got Bill Esseley. He's over there talking about the illegal who killed more people in California. Trump, meanwhile, is going to be deploying a bunch of additional National Guard over the weekend, and we're excited to see what that looks like. But then we've got Tish reaction and more. Tulsi Gabbard was out posting this morning about what is coming next, and so we're excited to check out what she has to say. Haven't heard from her in a little bit. All that in the first segment. Then we had a big bust announced this morning. The NBA top stars arrested. And Dan Bongino posted about this, saying that we're arresting everybody. And this story is pretty wild. There's something like over 30 different individuals arrested. And it's about gambling. It's also talking about this coach called Chauncey Billups and the Sicilian Mafia. All involved in some scam. So Fox News had the report. Kash Patel was out this morning talking about it, and we were waiting patiently for the indictment to drop. We just got the order to unseal the indictment that has come in, but we haven't seen the indictment yet. So hopefully by the time we get here, it's published, which means we'll probably start with Melania next then. So Melania is also getting sued. This liberal hack called Michael Wolff decided he's going to fight back. They were all publishing a bunch of Epstein nonsense, as we know. Melania sent a letter over to him and to many others like Carville and the rest of them saying, zip your lying mouths. And so now Michael Wolff is launching a counterattack. And it's one of the most ridiculous lawsuits you've ever seen. It's like a blog post, to be honest with you. You can see, look at this. They're quoting Mrs. Trump and her unitary executive husband. Oh, gosh. Who wrote this? I can't wait to see. All right, so we'll go through that. But in follow-up to that, we got some lunatic Democrats like this lady. Her name is Yolanda. I think it's Jolanda. Yeah, Jolanda Jones. So she's out here, and she's saying she's going to start slicing necks if you're not nice to her. So we'll have to be careful because we're going to listen to her idiotic comment here on with CNN. And then CNN, the anchor, just sits there. She's like, oh, well, that sounds good to me. You're like, shouldn't you push back on that at all? But the answer is no, they're not, because Yolanda wants to slit throats and maybe shoot people in the neck. I'm not sure, but we can listen to it and see. Now, One of the only sane Democrats in the whole country is the guy who had a stroke in his brain, and his name is John Fetterman. And he's saying that Kamala went nuts when she started calling Trump and a Nazi and a Hitler sympathizer and a fascist and all the things. So we'll listen to him. And then Mike Johnson was coming out today saying, yeah, they actually want pain. They want you to actually hurt. As the AG governor, attorney general candidate in Virginia had to say, there is, of course, a lot of activity with text messages and wishing death upon your opponents in many races. So we'll talk about that. We also then have the NBA arrest, which we mentioned. And of course, FBI last night dropped a new FBI J6 video, which is all about the pipe bomber. Of course, they're still offering a reward for $500,000 in order to find this pipe bomber. And we're hopeful that we can find it. We had some suspicions that it was Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger because he's 5'7", I think is the height. So we'll listen to that and we'll see what the latest is. We've got some more reaction on this. They had a new post, and Marsha Blackburn is calling for some serious oversight. And so we're excited about all of that. And we're very glad that you're here and with us on this early stream. And before we get into it, you know what we need to talk about? Perplexity, an amazing AI tool with an awesome new browser called Comet. And so here is what that browser looks like. It's free. And what you see is when you pull this browser down here, you see this little assistant button up here on the right. So you get your full AI suite right in the browser, and it can actually control things. Like, for example, this is Instacart, and you can just go over to Instacart and it'll just start doing stuff for you. You can say, find me all the ingredients I need for hot dogs and hamburgers for football this weekend. Because I think there's football or something going on. I don't really know. And add them to my cart is what we'll say. And add them to my Instacart. Then you just press enter, watch, and the browser will just start doing it. So it's looking at your Instacart right now. It's saying, hey, searching. I need all the ingredients for hot dogs and hamburgers. It's all doing it. And as it continues on with the search, look, it just typed in hot dog buns right in the browser. And boom, it's going to add them to my cart. And this is just a very basic example of just one thing it can do, but basically it can interact with websites. So you can go, you can have it reply to comments, have it look at your email, do all sorts of cool stuff. And it's just doing it right now. So it'll start to add them to the cart. And there it goes, one count. And you can see the cart just went up to 5. And it's like automatically happening. And so it's a free browser. It's an awesome AI tool. I pay for the pro version of it because I use it for searches and to find PDFs and all sorts of stuff. It's a good tool. And if you pay for it, it allows you to use all of the other tools. So like, ChatGPT, Google, Gemini, all the things. You just select the model you want and it's all there. Just got hamburger buns. Look at that. All right, so check it out. Link is in the description below. Perplexity. It is a cool one. And we recommend you check it out. And the links are in the description below. And if you sign up, you get with our link, you get an actual 30-day premium membership with Rumble. So, and we appreciate them supporting the show today. So check that out. All right. Now, as we get into it, we've got more victories. Major legal victory for President Trump. Mike Davis, you know who he is. He's over with the Article 3 project and an attorney over there. He is celebrating something that we've been celebrating here. Ninth Circuit victories. Been talking about a lot of them this week because Trump just won in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon. Had already beaten Gavin before. And then Gavin said, well, I don't really like that decision. And so the Court of Appeals in the Ninth Circuit, when we beat the pants off Gavin, they came back down with a 3-judge panel. And they said, oh, well, this is why we think this is the right outcome. Then Gavin took this puppy up and he said, well, I want to appeal. I want a full vote of the full Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. So all of them can come and weigh in on this. And if we get a certain number of votes, we get past the point and they'll rehear the case. Okay, so actually all of the judges will come in and vote. They'll say the full panel wants to give it a second chance. And we were trying to understand exactly what the breakdown was what kind of votes are needed. And so Roger Parloff, who does a lot of legal reporting, he was talking to somebody saying an attorney actually involved in the case says they don't actually publish their vote. The statement that is signed that we're going to look at includes, by 11, included 3 senior judges, was authored by 1. So it's not really a dissent. And that means there were only 8 of them who voted in favor of a rehearing. Okay, so the original panel said Trump wins. We want to have a second shot at this. We need 8. We need 15. They only got 8. Okay, the number needed for a rehearing was 15. They only got 8. Gavin blown out because this is the law. This is the power that the president has, obviously. So we'll go into it now. Here is the order that came down from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and you can see it is a 43-pager, and we'll go and hit the highlights on this, but Gavin Newsom loses again. You can see he wanted this to go the other way, but here is what happened. Remember, when Gavin lost, there was a judge of this court. So one of the judges, and the courts of appeals are big panels, they got senior judges, big chunks of people, tons of judges, obnoxious, but they're all in there having one big party. And the last time that Gavin lost, one judge just on her own, sua sponte, nobody even asked for it. Gavin didn't ask for it. Trump obviously didn't ask for it because he won. So some judges says, I want a rehearing on this. This is atrocious. On whether to rehear this case en banc with the full panel. And so, okay, she asked for it through a hissy fit. I can't believe Trump is doing this. A vote was taken, and the matter failed to receive a majority of the vote. Of the non-recused active judges. They don't want it. Judge Berzon's statement about the denial and Judge Gould's dissent are also filed concurrently herewith. And so therefore, the rehearing en banc, Gavin and whiny judge, is denied. You don't get it. Thanks for playing. Now get out. So here you can see, these are the judges who join in the decision about the denial, right? The denial of the rehearing en banc. And let's see what they say. They say, this case presents an issue of the gravest consequence, the peacetime deployment of military troops in American cities. And for the first time in nearly the 250-year history of this country, the president claims extraordinary unilateral power to order state troops onto the streets of select cities. Like, give me a break. 250. The National Guard's never been deployed before. In response to short-term, hyper-localized domestic protest of federal policies, which is a completely just erroneous frame. It's like, don't lecture us about 250 years. We've had the National Guard deployed all over the place, repeatedly throughout American history. We had American citizens rounded up and thrown in internment camps. So don't act like this is some novel thing because we want to stop attacks on federal agents. So dramatic. This claimed authority clashes directly with the strong resistance of American military into civil affairs, the venerable tradition of the British troops, and more. Now, critically, the authority of the president now claims in the face of that tradition that it's granted by the Constitution. They're referencing the Newsom case, saying Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15. And the idea would be that, yes, Congress has the power to make the decision to call in the National Guard, right, to deploy the militia. They've delegated that decision over to the president so that Congress doesn't have to make the decision and say, actually, we do need to deploy the National Guard to Chicago or deploy them to LA or deploy them to Portland. They don't have to have a committee hearing and sit around in a group and make that decision because it's Congress. They can't decide anything. So they just delegate the decision-making power to the president. And in doing so, they give the president major authority, broad authority to do that. It's in the statute. So they say in a series of statutes, Congress has given the president limited authority, which is very broad, to exercise the authority to deploy state militias. In accord with the court's usual responsibility, the panel in this case should have considered whether the president was likely to succeed in showing that he complied with the very specific terms of authority. And absent judicial insistence that he comply with the strict statutory limits, he can extend his power. but the panel, confined to the addressing of the deployment authority, deferred to the president's own determination of the legality of his actions. So, because that's the power of the presidency. You don't get to second guess them. It held that courts cannot review the determination that the statutory preconditions for calling out the National Guard reflects a colorable assessment of the facts in the law within the honest range of judgment, saying that as long as the president has basically a plausible claim, as long as you can say, well, I think that there is violence happening. Say, well, I disagree with that, but you can at least make the argument and it's in the range of honest judgment. So we can't question it because we're not the president. In doing so, it invited presidents to deploy military troops in response to commonplace. These are not commonplace. They have not happened historically until Trump came in and started removing people from the country. They're not short-lived. They've been going on for months, these judges, and they're not just domestic disturbances. They're trying to burn down federal buildings, you maniacs. They say this falls to local cops. The local cops are not responding. So the framers gave the police power to the states to guarantee state security. This is essential protection. And the panel, fundamentally erroneous in my view, and this is interesting because I thought that they were in concurring join regarding the denial. Okay, so they're not going to say, yeah, they're definitely not in agreement as we can tell from this. And this is a handful of the what was it, 8 judges, I think. So sorry for all the scrolling. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 judges, all just kind of making a statement. And they say here, the framers gave the police power to the states to guarantee the facets of the government. Such essential protection should not be discarded. And so it's fundamentally erroneous. Let's see, because there's also, I think, a full dissent on here. So we're fast forwarding. On June 6, ICE conducted immigration arrests. That evening, protests against ICE operations began, and they've been ongoing for a while. 130 individuals had been detained. We covered a lot of this yesterday, so we're kind of fast forwarding through the facts because we've heard a lot of the facts. ICE arrested and continued to arrest a bunch of people. Over 100 people showed up in San Diego. Protesters again showed up on the same day. 300 to 400 protesters gathered at Homeland. There was another protest during which some individuals engaged in misconduct. Then the LASD, the Los Angeles sheriff, they come in to bring control. On the evening of June 7th, the day after the protest started, then Trump issued a memo federalizing 2,000 National Guard members to come out, and they move on from the facts. Now, the Constitution, we talked about this yesterday, Article 1, Section 8, gives Congress a bunch of powers, and one of them is to call forth the militia, calling forth the militia. So they don't have to sit around now because they've delegated this to the president to make a decision to call forth the militia. In 10 U.S. Code, Congress delegates part of its power to call forth the militia under certain delineated circumstances. We talked a lot about these: rebellion, failure to execute the laws of the United States. Right here again, rebellion, unable with regular force. We've seen this in the Portland case and in the Seventh Circuit case. So before the president can federalize these things, he has to do one of these. There has to be an invasion or a danger of a foreign invasion. We are invaded by foreigners. They're protesting with Mexican flags out there on the streets. They're foreign invaders on behalf of a foreign nation. Everyone with a Mexican flag or some other foreign flag is a foreign invader waving their flags around in America. A rebellion against the federal government or danger of such rebellion, which is obviously happening so that the laws of the United States cannot be properly effectuated, and a situation in which the president is unable with regular forces to execute the law, they must be present. And they say those are not met because they're substituting their judgment for the president's. So the panel, they held that courts must review the president's determination, but it must be under a highly deferential standard, reflects a colorable assessment of the facts and the law within a range of honest judgment. Now, that ruling does not comport with the language, and so they're mad about that. They say, no, we get to measure what that is, and we get to define what the word rebellion means, and this is not a rebellion. They explain, generally, we have the power to do this. This is a fundamental concept. It comes from the Supreme Court. The duty of the judiciary is to determine whether the executive branches applied the statute that establishes its authority, Marbury versus Madison. If the president claims authority to act, but it's just mere individual will and authority without law, then the courts can say so. So they're just unhappy with the standard, saying the Supreme Court also recently ruled about the court's relationship in prior cases. And here, the text gives no indication whatever that Congress intended to curtail ordinary judicial review. It doesn't mention judicial review, nor does it delegate to the president discretion. It provides, but it says that let's go back up to the statute. It says the president may call in, and the president may do this, such as he considers necessary. Do you see that right there? As he considers necessary, not some other judge. It's right there in the statutes. The president makes the decision. And then the decisions are followed. Judges can't say, well, actually, I consider it not to be necessary because I'm a federal judge. Actually, where does it say that in there? It doesn't mention judicial review. It says he considers necessary. So it's pretty obvious that they're just trying to not read the statutes. I mean, it's right there. While the statute there it is. It gives the president discretion to decide how many National Guard should be called into service. If one of the exigencies exist, it does not give the president to decide whether an exigency exists in the first place. Okay, so who does? You do? The judges? It's generally presumed, it's just, judges trying to mince words, saying here, and they're clever with it, but from the beginning, the president and his delegated calling forth power has been carefully circumscribed. And in other cases, this was about the Civil War, okay, or it's about, an actual armed invasion by a named country. Now, although the text and history are determinative here, they also want to go back into legislative history to say this is a much more limited power than the president is claiming. And these other cases that Trump is citing, they don't limit judicial review. And they can't change the statute, these old cases. And so it doesn't even address judicial review. And so we're going to fast forward through a lot of this. We covered a lot of this yesterday. Now, Martin also doesn't address the statute at issue here. And I want to see if there's just a whole separate dissent on this. Fast forwarding through a lot. And it requires the court to check presidential power. We have an obligation to do this today. The governing presumption is that they are subject to judicial review. And that's not what the Ninth Circuit didn't say that it's banned. It just said it's highly deferential because that's what the statute says. Now, the panel's opinion contradicts the statute. It says if the president is unable with regular forces, and unable requires complete incapacity, not just a 2-day minor disruption in a discrete location. So that alone right there is just showing you that they're substituting and interpreting this according to what they believe happened. A 2-day minor disruption in a discrete location. They have no idea what resources had to be pulled from the executive branch or what's happening from Trump's perspective. They just say from their perspective, it's not that big of a deal. So he can't deploy what he's statutorily entitled to deploy. They go back to the dictionary. So again, we're just fighting over words and semantics. And the rejection of the military has been around since the beginning. And with these memories of abuses, the founders said this was only absolutely necessary. And for centuries, this was a power of last resort, invoked only under extreme circumstances, which I would say we're in. We've got, pick a number, 10 to 20 to 30 million illegal aliens in our country. We have sanctuary cities that are enabling them to attack federal officers. We have open insurrection against ICE facilities in multiple locations around the country. We have ICE deranged maniacs shooting people at ICE facilities, and the list goes on. So when you are trying to cooperate with the local governments who have been commandeered by the illegal alien constituency, and they're refusing to work with you, this is the only option. And the judges are throwing a fit over it. Even the Whiskey Rebellion we talked about, it was in opposition to a certain set of new rules, just like is happening right now. They're objecting to the removals. So this goes on. You can see a big, fat, whiny decision. But in conclusion, we think that this was written in exigent circumstances, and we want briefing. without any briefing and no knowledge of what is coming next. And now Trump is deploying these people everywhere. 80 troops were sent to demonstrate a show of presence. And hearing a case about a stay motion en banc is assuredly unusual. And it may be well that those active judges who did not vote to hear this case en banc are now awaiting the merits, perhaps in Oregon. So they're saying, yeah, so we don't really know what the votes were because it looks like a bunch of judges signed off on this. So you would presume that they voted in favor of a rehearing. Or maybe they just joined on the decision. But they say this panel's ruling is seriously wrong and it merits a full review. But I continue to think that the president's disregard for this country's deep-seated commitment to the principle that armed forces must not be used as civil law enforcers except where there is no alternative should be headed off now. And the panel opinion should be reconsidered. And so here's the short dissent. Yeah, I joined his dissent, writing separately about Trump. This warrants more extensive consideration, and Congress intended to limit him. And so we get to judge for ourselves whether the president has the power to deploy anybody. These are democratic ideals. Yeah. How about democratic ideals for the American citizens who didn't want their country invaded with illegal foreigners in here, who are gobbling up our resources, waving their foreign flags around and attacking our American citizens? Democratic ideals. What does that even mean? Don't lecture us about due process and the Constitution when you had 4 years of an entire agency that refused to enforce the law. They took an oath to enforce the law, and they enabled this to happen. And now what's happening in California, because of these psychopaths don't care about their own citizens at all, well, they just allow illegal aliens to come in, get driver's licenses in California, apparently get drunk or high or whatever, and then crash into multiple vehicles on the highway, killing 3. Maybe more will die soon. And this is brutal and horrific, but this is right in Newsom's backyard. All these judges are enabling this. One death after another is on their hands because they refuse to enforce the law. They'd rather bend over for the illegal alien constituency, which is really the power center in the sanctuary cities. So here's the gruesome crash. We'll watch the video. It was on the news, so I'll share it with you here. But brutal. Crash happened on the westbound lanes of the freeway near the junction of Interstate 15 in California. And big surprise, per Bill Malugin, the driver is an illegal alien. His name is Jashonpreet Singh, a semi-truck driver. 3 people are dead. Diversity is our strength. We need to have all these people here driving cars for us, doing jobs Americans don't want to do. Shouldn't have ever been in the country, should have never gotten a driver's license, should have never killed these 3 people. Kind of how the law works. Pass the laws to prohibit behavior, and then you prevent the consequences of that bad behavior. It's the whole concept. So I know accidents happen, and I know citizens also get it. I get it. But we don't need more of them. That's what the laws are for. So here, per Bill, breaking, multiple ICE sources say that Jashonpreet Singh, a semi-truck driver suspected of killing 3 people in a DUI crash on the 10 freeway, is an Indian illegal alien. And guess what? He was caught and released at the California border by the Biden administration in March 2022. Homeland attached this photo via federal sources. Now, I'm also told that ICE is placing a detainer request on Singh with the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, and hopefully they hold on to him, where he's in custody on suspicion. Okay, they release him. They don't honor ICE detainers. I don't know about San Bernardino specifically, but California, Chicago, Portland, you say, hey, we got this murdering illegal alien in our country who just is taking out American citizens, I would presume. And we'd like to deport him. They say, well, no, because we can't cooperate with a bigoted ICE department. Police say Singh was speeding and under the influence, never even hitting his brakes. And watch, I'm going to share this video, man. It's brutal. When he crashed into slow-moving traffic on the freeway, causing a devastating and deadly chain reaction crash that killed 3 people, probably instantly. The victims have not been identified yet, so we don't know who they are. But the news played the video of this, and it's just horrific. I mean, you can just imagine you, your family members, sons or daughters, just sitting there on the way home, and some illegal alien from a foreign country who doesn't know how to drive, driving drunk or high or whatever, refuses to hit the brakes, driving on an invalid, unlawful license, who is it's valid from California because they hand them out to illegal aliens, but he should have never even been physically in this country to begin with. And he is here now doing this.
Exclusive dash cam video, which is now the subject of several law enforcement investigations. It shows the moment a red semi-truck plowed into a number of vehicles on the westbound 10 freeway in Ontario just after 1 p.m. yesterday. The CHP told the LA Times the driver of this big rig is a 21-year-old man who is now under arrest on suspicion of driving under the influence of drugs. A total of 4 semis were involved and also 4 passenger vehicles, one of them exploding in flames. 3 people were killed and 4 others were taken to local hospitals. This horrific crash happened just east of the 15 freeway and shut down all westbound lanes for more than 12 hours. Thousands of drivers were trapped in the gridlock just as the evening commute was getting underway. It's also near...
Yeah, sick. Absolutely sick, right? And rest in peace to those poor families and everybody who was there on the scene, because that is just a traumatic crash. And he should have never been here. And I know American citizens with actual driver's license that are legitimate get in crashes, and these are accidents that happen. But we don't need to import them at all. And we don't all want to be sitting around wondering if you're going to get killed because some drunk illegal is smashing into the back of you with a semi. Now, here is more. Kevin Dalton said the 21-year-old driver of this big rig slammed into several vehicles, killed 3, injured several others. Driver's been arrested. And they just hand out CDLs. They hand out licenses to illegal aliens. Here's more from the aftermath. Just totally incinerated. Yeah, sick behavior. And California, I wonder if Gavin Newsom's going to come out, or if Nancy Pelosi or anybody's going to, create a whole movement around dead Americans who were killed by illegal aliens, and they can all bend the knee for that and talk about American lives matter or something like that. No, of course not, because it's not a tragedy to them. I mean, they'll come out and, thoughts and prayers and whatever, change the laws. How about you prevent this from happening? We just saw another one where the dude hangs a U-turn and another family goes under it and they're all dead too. They shouldn't be here. They should not be enabled to have CDL licenses and be allowed to kill Americans, murder Americans, throw their bodies over bridges, chase their daughters while they're running around parks. Shouldn't be here. And the courts are just lecturing all of us. Well, it's all pretty normal behavior. Trump's trying to deport these people, identify them, and get them out. And they're insurrecting to prevent the execution of that law. And they're going to lecture us about democratic ideals. How about the democratic ideals for those American people who were sitting in their car waiting to go hang out with their family, and now they're all dead? Yeah, they don't care about that. They just care about the politics, because these people are so disconnected from reality. I wonder if this happened to their families, if they would change their tunes. God forbid. I hope it doesn't. But meanwhile, they just look the other way and they lecture people like the president and us for wanting to enforce the law. This is an overstep of your lawful authority. No, it is not. There's a rebellion. There are foreign flags. The American people voted for President Trump. You're upset about it. And so now more people are dead. So it's a sick time over there. Here's what Bill Esseley, who is the attorney, the U.S. attorney for the Central District of California, here's what he had to say about this in the aftermath.
Saley, U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California. Bill, nice to see you again. Thanks for coming back on our show. I want to give more on this DUI arrest. He had to be traveling at a fast rate of speed. What happened here?
Yeah, I spoke to the DA. My understanding is he was traveling at a fast rate of speed and he did not apply his brakes at all. They do suspect he was under the influence of some type of stimulant. They are waiting for that toxicology report. I do suspect he will be charged with vehicular homicide. However, we're also looking at charges. We are opening an investigation to understand how he obtained a commercial driver's license from the state of California as an illegal immigrant, and we want to understand whether anyone in the DMV was complicit in issuing that driver's license to him.
Saley, U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California. Bill, nice to see you again. Thanks for coming back on our show. I want to give more on this.
So that's Bill Esseley. And we know that California hands these out. So the question is, who approved it? And maybe they can be co-conspirators in murder if that investigation identifies the people who are stamping these licenses. Now, Trump evidently is sending more federal agents in the aftermath of these Ninth Circuit rulings over to San Francisco as soon as today. Here's what CNN said.
And now California is bracing for more expanded operations to happen in San Francisco. What we're told is that dozens of federal agents are expected to descend on the city as soon as today. Now, that is expected to include, for example, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. They have fanned out across the country to assist immigration and customs enforcement with their operations and in their efforts to ramp up immigration arrests. Now, we are also learning that the Coast Guard is preparing to support those federal agents to come to San Francisco. Now, plans are still being finalized, and the president himself threatened this deployment over the weekend. But what is clear is that the administration is not backing down from this immigration enforcement anti-crime effort where they have set their sights on multiple Democratic-led cities. I'm told San Francisco certainly won't be the last, and trying to send more federal agents there for these ops. Now, there are other agents who are still on standby across the country. That is what my sources tell me. Of course, this tends to start with sort of a drip before it gets larger. We saw this, for example, with Los Angeles, Chicago, and now expect to see it in San Francisco. Now, a spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security said, quote, "As it does every day, DHS law enforcement will enforce the laws of our nation." That was their response to our questions about this operation. Meanwhile, there's a lot of pushback from local and state officials. The San Francisco mayor saying that these tactics are designed to incite backlash, chaos, and violence. Governor Newsom.
Yeah, you can't come and enforce the law. Is that a good argument for anything? Ever enforcing the law? You know, people really like to urinate in public. They do. Just go out into Old Town Scottsdale at 2 a.m. They kick everybody out. Everybody wants to urinate in public. It's illegal to do that. Cops arrest you immediately without a warrant. They just go, oh, there you go, probable cause. They make an arrest. You go right to jail. Have to see a judge and deal with it in the aftermath. And that's just normal law. Not allowed to do that. The law is you're not allowed to be an illegal in America. And all of the urinators in public don't go protest City Hall, okay? Because it's a wrong thing to do. You're in the country illegally. You might want them to be here illegally, but that's not what the law says. And the president is effectuating the law. And so just because you're unhappy with the law doesn't mean you don't enforce it. Go change the law if you're unhappy with it. Mayor Daniel Lurie. All right, so that's happening over there on CNN. Trump is not backing down. Meanwhile, in New York, Tish is going to be creating a portal to upload images of federal officers so that you can identify the ICE officials who are near you so you can harass them.
Attorney General Letitia James announcing a new portal where residents can send photos and videos of ICE operations. James says the portal is meant to review and investigate legal violations by agents, and her statement referenced Tuesday's immigration raid in Chinatown in New York City. Meantime, House Democrats say they will launch their own similar ICE tracker. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi criticizing that effort, citing a sharp increase in violence against law enforcement. Coming up later,
Yeah, just imagine if that happened back during January 6th or something. If we started monitoring all the FBI agents and everybody who was involved with that, and we had Republican governors and we had Congress members in the Republican Party saying, we're going to identify every single FBI agent who goes and kicks doors in. Imagine how freaked out they would be about that. What a joke that would be. You're insurrecting. They would try to charge them with crimes for insurrecting the operation of federal law enforcement. But now they're going to create doxing portals, official doxing portals, as our country continues to march towards a greater and greater division between the states who are sane and the states who are not. And Tulsi was also out this morning saying, yeah, right, the Coast Guard, all of our intelligence agencies, it's a full court press. We're going after the drug cartels. We're working hand in hand. We're securing the borders. We're dealing with the sanctuary states and cities. And illegal immigration and that whole era is over.
Seen the trafficking of fentanyl across our borders reduce drastically. You're seeing these cartels and these narco traffickers afraid because for the first time, they're actually seeing in President Trump someone who means what he says, that he's going to stop them from putting the American people's lives at risk. In my organization, Odie and I, we have our counterterrorism teams who are working very hard, both in the United States and across the border, working to share actionable intelligence with our U.S. law enforcement agencies, as well as Mexico's law enforcement elements, and successfully going after and capturing people like this Sinaloa cartel boss, El Pato, and his money launderers.
El Pato.
This is having an incredible impact, once again, on President Trump keeping his promise to the American people that he will make this country safe again for themselves and our kids.
Let's go. Thank you, Tulsi, for that. So the blue judges, the blue states, the Democratic Party, the people who support this constituency of invaders in our country, who are attacking federal agents and undermining and insurrecting the law month after month after month, are going to continue to face fortified, assured, and competent administration that is not letting up off the brakes. And we got 3.5 more years to go on this. So we'll be here to cover these battles. Of course, we're waiting for the Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett, to accept Trump's request, and we'll have updates there. But the battle continues. The Democrats want our cities destroyed and commandeered by foreigners and foreign invaders, and we're not going to let that happen. It's our country, and Trump is leading the way. All right, now, my friends, let's pause for a quick moment. Let me see if that NBA indictment is out. Just got an unsealing request this morning, and let's see if we got it. All right, cool. So we got the indictment, the NBA indictment up, so that's perfect. Timing worked out great. All right, so that's fresh out of the oven. We'll come back to that. Let's hit the Melania story first and get into this one, because this one's also ridiculous. Melania Trump now hit with a ridiculous lawsuit from this liberal hack called Michael Wolff. Totally dumb. We'll go through it and see what is happening here. But this is the Epstein stuff that they just can't let go. It's the only thing that they have going for them. Their party's in total disarray. Nobody likes them. Their leaders are Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and Zohran Mamdani. So they're struggling. So they came out. Michael Wolff is pleading for some relevancy. You probably don't even know who he is, but he has written a bunch of books, hates Trump, all the things. And Melania, as we've covered here, she sent a bunch of messages out to people like James Carville and others and said, stop making false allegations about my connections to Epstein. They're not true. They don't exist. They're defamatory and slanderous, and you'll be busted. We'll sue your booties if you do it. And so one of those letters also went over to this guy, Michael Wolff. And so he went and hired some ridiculous lawyers called David Korsnick out in New York. And he wrote this into Melania saying, we're suing you and you're summoned to answer this complaint filed in New York, of course. And here is what it says about Melania. And as we're reading through this, we'll then come back out and we'll look at some other Democrat politicians who are struggling out here to attack essentially the right. We've got this one from Hakeem. We have this one from Yolanda, who says she's going to come after your necks, I guess, if you're a Republican. And the list just goes on and on. So they're scrambling until we get to Fetterman, who has a little bit of sanity left in his brain. But this one was one attack from Michael Wolff against Melania. They say, remember, back on October 15th, Melania, through her lawyer, demanded that Michael Wolff immediately retract certain statements that he published about her. Now, the letter from Melania said that Wolff better immediately issue an apology for false, defamatory, and inflammatory misleading statements about Melania. And others did. James Carville was like, sorry about that. And it demanded an offer of money to also compensate for the alleged overwhelming reputational and financial harm that she was caused to suffer from his slanderous lies. Now, this threat letter, they said, which was a cease and desist, insisted that if Wolf did not comply by October 21, she's going to initiate legal damages, a lawsuit for $1 billion. And he doesn't have that for sure. So she was going to sue him. And so he's like, I'm going to sue you first. The threat letter was made pursuant to Florida law, which is why he's going and suing in New York. He wants to get ahead of this. Trump and her, quote, he writes, his lawyers, and her, quote, unitary executive husband, in quotes. Like, what does that even mean? Along with their MAGA myrmidons. Well, that's a fancy word. It's a $4 word if I ever saw one. Wow, these lawyers must be really smart and expensive. And it's just idiotic, really. I mean, you should talk plainly and clearly to communicate your message. This is weird. Unitary executive, it's like a blog post on Substack. Okay, save it for Substack, all right? Have made a practice of threatening those who speak against them with slap actions, saying Melania is trying to intimidate us and extract payments with North Korean-style confessions and apologies. So dramatic. The letter lists some of those things that they have pressed into unjustified submissions, and we're not going to buckle. Now, these legal actions are designed to create a climate of fear in the nation so people can't exercise their First Amendment rights and shut down legitimate inquiry into Epstein. Now, Wolf is a journalist who has done his job diligently, and he reports what he knows, identifying what he doesn't. And so now he's got no choice but to defend himself. And this letter is now showing that there is an actual controversy. And they entitle Wolf to legal fees and punitive damages. Now, he's also entitled to a declaratory relief that he can say these things referenced in the letter because, A, the statements are true, he says. Wow. Right. And so we'll have to maybe litigate some of this. Mrs. Trump's claims that they are false lack a substantial basis. These are also opinion and hypotheses. And Trump's claims that they're not matters of opinion also lack basis. They're also not made with malice. And Melania's claims to the contrary don't have any basis in fact. And so by her threat letter, we're now suing her. Subpoenas are going to go out to those who frequented or who are part of Epstein's circle, including Trump. We'll see. Now, the parties, Mr. Wolf is an experienced journalist, and he's gotten New York Times bestsellers, which means you know they're terrible. And he's done many interviews of Jeffrey Epstein, and now is really animated about it because Trump's involved. Was pretty quiet about all this for the prior years, the Democratic Party. And now he's suing. So venue is in New York. They say he's a journalist. He's appeared on podcasts. He was on the Daily Beast. And the statements that he's made, libel, are in 3 categories. He went on the Daily Beast. He said, yeah, Melania is very involved in the Epstein scandal, saying the First Lady has avoided the topic, but she was acting behind the scenes. And she says that's a defamatory implication. He says, well, I can imply whatever I want. So he sues and is referencing the defamatory statements. He says, no, actually, it is true. You were very involved in the Epstein scandal. The statement's taken out of context. And I was saying that since you're married to Trump, you're managing the response. Okay, so that's it. So he's going to say, well, no, it's technically true. She is very involved. She's helping him respond to it. When you're implying that she was involved in the underlying scandal. The scandal is about the Epstein originating scandal, not the underlying response to it or the actual response. It's not defamatory to say that she was involved in the expansive circle. I didn't write the headlines either way, and Trump cannot prove them to be untrue. And I didn't act with any actual malice at all. Saying that she could be the missing link. So I'm not claiming it's true. It's not defamatory to say that she could have information about her husband, and she can't prove that I acted with actual malice. His whole life is actual malice. She was also very involved in the social circle, and he says the statement's true. She was a model, and she was hanging around all these people. There's photos and more. So she can't disprove that. She's a modeling agent. And also, Wolf apparently alleged that Trump liked to blank his friends' wives and was on the Lolita Express with Melania. He says that statement is true. and they can't prove that it is not true. That's a pretty big one. Tapes recorded by Wolf. Yeah, so we'll see what comes out with that one. It's not defamatory. He can say, I say that happened. The fact that they were on Epstein's jet doesn't change that fact. And where does Melania fit into the Epstein story? Where does she fit into this, in this whole culture of indeterminate age? He says, I can ask all these questions. And so he's suing, and we're excited to see what Melania's response is on this. So the first count 2, declaratory anti-SLAPP laws, so New York stuff. SLAPP is a strategic lawsuit against public participation. So it's saying that she is trying to stop, like to basically censor him from speaking before he's speaking. And there's anti-SLAPP laws that prevent that from happening. So he's suing in New York, and it's obviously it's a great jurisdiction for him, not such a good jurisdiction for Trump. So that's smart. And he's trying to get ahead of it from David Korzanik, who writes weird demands. But this got filed, so Melania is getting sued. We're excited to see what she says in response to this. We'll keep our eye on that. But meanwhile, Democrats are also coming out against the White House and making other threats, saying here from Hakeem, if you were even involved in this construction, we are coming after you too. These people are going to be held accountable, he says. Anyone who is working with Trump to build this building, you're busted.
Any executive authority. And more likely, this is part of what Donald Trump has been doing since day one of his presidency, running the largest pay-to-play scheme in the history of the country, and probably soliciting donations from people who've got business before the United States government. And all of this is going to have to be investigated. It will. All of this will have to be uncovered. It will. And these people are going to be held accountable no matter how long it takes. That's going to be the reality of the situation. And that's our warning to all of these people participating in this scheming to manipulate taxpayer dollars and, of course, to destroy the people's house. The White House belongs to the American people. It doesn't belong to Donald Trump.
He's expanding the White House for the people's purposes so that they can actually have good events and galas in there. And Obama spent, I think, $310 million of the American people's dollars in order to revise his White House with the basketball court and all the things. So it's quite a double standard. And I'm not sure if he's going to go after the construction workers or the dude who's running the jackhammer or what, but they're very upset about this because they realize that this is Trump building something. Once we get past this little demo phase, everybody knows the demo phase is terrible. But once you've got a brand new building and a brand new kitchen or whatever, it's like, okay, it's pretty nice. Glad we went through that. And so when it is finally done, they're going to realize they're in big trouble. But this, because Trump is building, and it's just indicative of the energy that's coming out of the White House, not only there in DC, but everywhere else too. So here is another Democrat who is just absolutely nuts. And honestly, the CNN anchor is just as nuts for not calling her out on this right after Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck, right after Irina Zarutska got sliced in the neck, right after we have illegal alien CDL drivers murdering other citizens driving on the roadways peacefully and patriotically. Here is this woman called Yolanda, and apparently she's a Democrat from Texas on with CNN, and here's what she sounds like.
Work. I'm from the hood, okay? So when a bully comes, like, if there are no rules, you literally have to figure it out. So Donald Trump has changed things, and people trying to do what's always been done is not going to work. And I think that's why Democrats are losing black people. That's why they're losing poor people, because poor people, all they want is for us to fight. So if you hit me in my face, I'm not going to punch you back in your face. I'm going to go across your neck.
Dang.
Because we can go back and forth fighting each other's faces. You've got to hit hard enough where they won't come back. And so, yeah, for the same way I went to New York and spoke with Governor Kathy Hochul and said, if they're going to try to wipe us out in Texas, we need to wipe out every Republican in New York, in California, in Illinois. So no one can make me feel bad about fighting for the people that I represent, because the people that I represent need someone who's willing to go in the ring and fight for them. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
So Representative, in that context, the reality of the world is we are living in a moment where, yes, there's this shutdown going down, and Democrats on Capitol Hill are standing up for that in the way they think is working. But
okay, so just talking right through it, like she never even said it. Like, do you think it's appropriate after people are literally having their necks shot off and their throats slit on buses that you would use the neck commentary? You mean politically, right? Obviously politically, right? Not like violently. But that's the Democratic Party, really not any different than the AG governor, the AG candidate in Virginia, who is celebrating the death of his political opponents, kids and wife and family. It's just who they are, and they want to slice necks, and they will do it, as we've seen. They'll shoot their own people in the heads and in the bodies out of ICE facilities. So we also see that one Democrat is not as far gone as the rest of them. His name is John Fetterman. He's a Democrat from Pennsylvania, and he's saying these people are nuts, man. Even Kamala lost the plot back during the last election. Here's John.
I don't know why, and I've always refused to say that. And when then the Vice President Harris referred to President Trump as a fascist, and I knew absolutely we lost the plot at that point. You know, if you call the president or someone like a fascist, you're effectively calling the people that are going to vote for him, and then they must be fascists too, or they support fascism and those things, and that's just not true. That's just not it. I happen to know, and I love a lot of people that voted for the president, and they're not fascists, they're not Nazis, they're not trying to destroy the Constitution and all those things. They just happen to have a different priorities, and they love our country in the same ways that Democrats do as well. So I refuse to do those kinds of a thing, because that kind of extreme kinds of rhetoric makes it easier for those kinds of extreme kinds of actions, even like what happened to poor Charlie Kirk and that. And now why you can't allow people to grieve and now use that an opportunity to criticize or to turn it into something. It's
because
like,
they're monsters,
it's just basic humanity there. And like we're forgetting that we need each other. We need each other here. And now I refuse to be a part of it and comparing people to Hitler and those things, because if that's what's required to win, then I refuse to.
Amazing. Wow. What a normal Democrat. Be nice if the rest of the party sounded like that. But they don't. Not even close. They're kind of crazy. Where's your humanity? John, they're Democrats. They don't have any. That's why they're Democrats. So Mike Johnson was also out today responding to a lot of this. He is communicating this. He's talking about the economic real pain that the Democrats want to deliver. But it's much deeper than that. They want physical pain as well.
The reason that my colleagues and I have come in here every morning now during this painful Schumer shutdown is because we have to share the facts, and we have to share the simple truth with the American people. And why is that? Because the Democrats are working overtime to try to hide those facts and to try to distract from the very simple truth here. They want you to forget that just 5 Senate Democrats could reopen the government today. All we need is 5 of them. They try to pretend that their counter-proposal deal doesn't reinstate free health care for illegal aliens.
It does.
$200 billion of taxpayer funds. They try to pretend that their counter-proposal would not send billions of dollars in wasteful spending for social projects in foreign countries overseas. They don't want you to look at the facts. They don't want you to look at the paperwork that they themselves filed as the counter-proposal. And they refuse to admit that this entire shutdown is one big political game to satisfy the radical Marxist base of their party. But that is exactly what is going on. And I want to be absolutely clear about this. Democrats would not have shut the government down this time if their political careers did not depend on it. And that is not some Republican talking point. That is the objective truth. If it wasn't already abundantly clear, the number 2 Democrat in the House yesterday openly admitted to that fact. Catherine Clark is the House Democrat whip. She works right under Hakeem Jeffries as the number 1 Democrat, and she was in an interview and she said to one of your colleagues sitting here on the front row, quote, "Of course there will be families that are going to suffer, but this is one of the few leverage times we have," unquote.
It's Not any different than what the AG candidate said. People will only change their policies if they feel real pain. And in his case, he wanted dead family members and consequences from and against cops and things like that, because he's a maniac. But the Democrats are doing it. It's just part of their philosophy. And so they're going to make it hurt for the American people in order to get their way, which has always been their MO. Doesn't matter what it was. It was COVID, remember? They're going to make it painful for you unless you go and inject that into your body repeatedly. You're a bad person and you're going to kill everybody unless you do it. And there will be consequences for you if you don't. And if you even challenge it, if you speak out about it, then we're going to censor you, we're going to cancel you, we're going to silence you. Even though you're right about everything, we're still going to shut you up. It's just how they operate. Not anymore. And so Melania will be responding to the lawsuit, no doubt about it. We'll keep our eye on that filing when it drops and hopefully have you join us as we do. All right, now let's talk about the NBA and this major bust that just happened. Major bust, rounding up many people with the NBA. Dan Bongino saying Operation Summer Heat resulted in over 28,000 violent criminal arrests in a different operation. Operation Restoring Justice resulted in the apprehension of hundreds of child predators. Now, in addition to this work, we're also getting the NBA saying your FBI remains intently focused on combating organized crime and fraud like this one. And today's takedown, big one, reinforces that message. We will find you. That's what we do. From Dan Bongino. And so we got the indictment pulled up, but it was a pretty big situation because Fox News is reporting that they went and arrested a bunch of these dudes, including this fella right here, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. And apparently he was just one of many.
All right, some breaking news is catching everybody by surprise. The FBI arresting NBA player Terry Rozier early this morning in connection with a widespread sports betting investigation, and he's not the only one.
This is huge news. Nate Ford joins us live from Brooklyn with the latest. Good morning, Nate.
Hey, guys, good morning. Yeah, breaking news that is sure to rock the sports world. You mentioned Terry Rozier, and he's not the only one. Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers and a multi-time All-Star, a Finals MVP back in his playing days, also arrested this morning as part of an FBI investigation into illegal sports gambling. Now, Rozier, he was arrested in Orlando this morning. And he was there because the Miami Heat played the Orlando Magic last night. Rozier was active for that game, but he did not play as part of a coach's decision. Now, this all comes after the Wall Street Journal reported back in January that Rozier was under federal investigation related to a 2023 game back when he played for the Charlotte Hornets, where there was a surge of suspicious gambling activity related to the under on his performance with points, rebounds, and assists in a game where Rozier ended up leaving after about 10 minutes with an ankle injury. So the Wall Street Journal report detailed it so that it appeared that perhaps Rozier was accused of changing his performance in the game in order for other people to make money on his bets or on their bets. Now, this is part of an investigation that also landed a lifetime ban for Jonte Porter, a former Toronto Raptors player who pleaded guilty to his role. He's awaiting sentencing in December. We are expecting a news conference here at 10 o'clock with FBI Director Kash Patel and Joe Nocella, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. So we will be covering that throughout.
I've got those clips coming up, but let's take a look at the indictment before we hear Kash explain exactly what is going on. Fresh out of the oven, just unsealed today. You see, Eastern District of New York has the case. It is the United States of America versus a bunch of people, including, as we heard, Chauncey Billups, the coach, and others. Man, look at these names. Spanish G, what's up? Lou App. We got Flapper Poker, a.k.a. Flappy's here. We got Maddie, also known as the Wrestler. Spook is in the house. What's up to Juice? What's up, Black Tony? We got Sugars here. Albanian Bruce, Big Bruce. We got Horatio, also known as H. And Jonathan Chan, a.k.a. Skrully, a.k.a. Stanley. Many charged. We're not done. D. Jones, what's up, John South? Kurt is here. We got Doc, Black Rob. What's up, Black Rob? Pookie is here, as is Jay, all charged. And if you're an NBA person, you may recognize more of those names than I do, but they're all indicted. And here is what this looks like. They write, beginning in at least 2019, these defendants and their co-conspirators, they engaged in a complex fraud scheme to rig or cheat at illegal poker games in the Eastern District of New York. They call it the rigged poker scheme. The defendants and their co-conspirators carried out the rigged poker scheme by manipulating certain poker games at otherwise non-rigged or straight illegal poker games, including weekly poker games at various locations. They did this in Washington, Lexington, and everything. The games were on record with and operated with the express permission and approval of certain organized crime families of La Cosa Nostra, who provided support and protection for the games and collected the debts in exchange for a portion of the proceeds. So you lose your money, they're going to make sure you pay. Victims of this scheme believed that they were participating in straight illegal poker games and that they were gambling against other people on equal footing, like it was fair. In reality, the defendants and their co-conspirators, who constituted the remaining participants purportedly playing the poker games, they worked together on cheating teams that advanced wireless technologies to read the cards dealt in each poker player's hand and relay that information to the defendants and the co-conspirators in the games. The defendants and their co-conspirators then bet accordingly to ensure the unsuspecting victims lost money. Through the rigged scheme, their co-conspirators defrauded millions of dollars out of the other people. This guy is a member of the Bonanno crime family of La Cosa Nostra. This guy's a resident, all these people charged in these poker games, it looks like. And let's see what else happened. So we know a bunch of people got charged for various things. Here's the scam. So these people, Amar, Zen, Robert, and others, together with others, they organized and participated in these rigged games. They supplied others with cheating technology. On numerous occasions, certain defendants and their co-conspirators invited victims to the game. These were wealthy people. To attract the victims, they'd bring in the athletes. They'd say, you know who's going to be playing there, don't you? These NBA stars. To attract the victims in some instances, well-known former professional athletes participated. The face cards were members of the cheating teams. They received a portion of the criminal proceeds. The defendants, Chauncey Billups and Damon Jones, both of whom are former professional basketball players, were the face cards, and they were the members of the cheating team. So, hey, man, Chauncey Billups, the coach of the basketball team, is going to be there. So they came out. At the rigged game, the members of the cheating teams, including the defendants and their co-conspirators, they used card shuffling machines that were randomly shuffling the cards, but those machines were secretly altered to use concealed technology to read the cards on the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. Dang. The operator then communicated that info by cell phone to a member of the cheating team who was the quarterback. Then he used the secret signaling to share the information with other members of the team in the rigged games. The cheating teams used the information from the quarterback to defraud the victims. Everybody else thought that they were playing straight poker. At times, they also used other cheating technologies like an electronic poker chip tray that could secretly read cards placed on the poker table, card analyzers that utilized technology loaded onto decoy cell phones that could detect which cards were on the table, and playing cards that had markers visible only to the individuals wearing special contact lenses or sunglasses. Wasn't that in James Bond? It's crazy. How much money are they betting? How much? You're going to engage in all of this for a couple $100,000? It's got to be millions. With respect to poker games held in this area, members of and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime family used threats and intimidation to assure that the debts were paid. And in exchange, members and associates also got portions of the rigged games. Other defendants were part of the Genovese crime family. and more. To conceal the nature of these, they laundered their criminal proceeds through, in exchange for a fee, this person got payments from the victims of the games using cryptocurrency. The defendants also sent other proceeds from the Square games for a fee, and they would convert to cash. For example, in April 2019, $50,000. The defendants, Chauncey, Eric, Jamie Gillette, Robert Stroud, Sophia Way, they organized these games. In another example, June, July 23, bunch of other people played, and they got money, laundered at least $100,000 of the criminal proceeds. As another example, here was another one, $46,000, $105,000 respectively. It's like, it's a lot of money, no doubt about it, but you're going to engage, you're going to set up this criminal conspiracy to defraud people for that's it. As another example, September 24th, several defendants also defrauded someone else at a $60,000. So here we go. These are big numbers. Overall, from approximately April 19 to the present, 7.1 million. Okay, now we're talking. On several occasions, the defendants and their co-conspirators used threats of force, pay your money that we stole from you illegally, using rigged games. In one occasion, several of the defendants conspired to steal a machine from John Doe, who previously supplied other machines. And they also conspired to commit a gunpoint robbery, to steal a model of a game that they wanted, of a card shuffling machine that they wanted to use in the poker game. So, various counts. Count 1, wire fraud, all of them charged. Here's another one. Count 2, illegal gambling business. This guy known as Flapper Poker, a.k.a. Flappy, a.k.a. Matty. Count 3, illegal gambling business. Not good there. Count 4, money laundering. We've got count 5, the Hobbs Act extortion conspiracy. And many. John Doe is also part of the extortion conspiracy. They want forfeiture of the ill-gotten gains. And that's the indictment for forfeiture. And they want forfeiture of all the proceeds signed off by the grand jury foreperson. And that's the game. So here you can see a little bit more information over from Fox News. This is the article that Dan Bongino shared with us. The Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat Terry Rozier, Coach Damon Jones, all picked up. La Cosa Nostra, crime families. The FBI will hold a news conference about the probe. They did that specifically, and here is Kash Patel and what he had to say about this today. House Judiciary saying, excellent work, Director Kash. If you commit a crime in the Trump administration, you are not going to get away with it. Here's what Kash said earlier today.
Good morning. Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Cosa Nostra. The men and women up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any. I'll just highlight some of the details in the case and the FBI work, and then you'll hear from the others. But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Cosa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families. And you'll hear more about those details today. The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery.
Yeah, those are numbers you can get excited about.
A multi-year investigation. And we could not have done it without our interagency partners that are before us today. The NYPD, HSI, and teams of law enforcement officials from around the country made this day possible. It takes a team to bring this kind of justice, sweeping justice, into the halls of the United States courtrooms, where our brave United States attorney has led this prosecution. It takes courageous prosecutors to stand before you and say, we will not allow this kind of illicit activity to happen, not only at the national sporting level, but also where it hides in La Cosa Nostra. And when these two collided together, they perpetrated a fraud that is historic in terms of not just money, but the scheme and the deceit that they utilize to steal and swindle people for money, to include crypto fraud. This is an operation that showcases to you that under President Trump's administration, there is no room for any type of criminal behavior, be it on the world's largest stage or in the back rooms of tiny parlors where card games are being played. We are proud to stand here today with the men and women of the FBI and this legal team. And to the United States Attorney, I just want to thank you personally for taking the time to display the work that the media is about to hear about today in detail. As I said, it does take courageous prosecutors, but it takes a courageous United States Attorney to bring this case, because we are going to take heat for it. But we don't shy away in this administration. We don't say no. What we do is we bring the results across the finish line. We bring them to the public. We bring you accountability. And yes, they will have their day in court, and you will hear the evidence through the court system exclusively. We will not deny anyone of due process. And that's the brilliance of this system. That's the brilliance of this administration. Everyone will be held to account. So with that, I turn it over to United States Attorney Nocella. Thank you.
All right. So nice statement from Kash Patel. And there was also this clip from this woman who is the New York Police Department commissioner. And we just read through the indictment. We didn't see much on this specifically, but she's saying that at the time, one of these athletes apparently, like there's other allegations about the conduct probably at these poker games, and they're making other bets. So they're indicted for the activity with these, basically the poker fraud, but at the games, they may be telling other people like, hey, this is going to happen at this game. So if you want to get in on this, this is what I'm going to do. Everybody places their bets. That's how you get up to tens of millions of dollars. Not scamming, scamming somebody $50,000 every game, like having a mark coming in and playing a game. Okay, you got to do that a bunch in order to get to $1 million. Have a bunch of these people getting scammed. They're all going to realize they're being scammed. So what do? You get to the tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions if you throw a game, okay, and a bunch of people are betting one way against it. So she says that happened here. And so maybe more charges will be coming down the line, but this is another big claim.
In some instances, players altered their performance or took themselves out of games to make sure that those bets paid out. One example occurred on March 23rd, 2023 in Charlotte. Terry Rozier, an NBA player now with the Miami Heat, but at the time playing for the Hornets, allegedly let others close to him know that he planned to leave the game early with a supposed injury. Using that information, members of the group placed more than $200,000 in wagers on his under statistics. Rozier exited the game after just 9 minutes, and those bets paid out, generating tens of thousands of dollars in profit. The proceeds were later delivered to his home, where the group counted their cash.
Crazy.
As the NBA season tips off, his career is already benched, not for injury, but for integrity.
Busted! Nice line there, Jessica Tisch. There's a lot of Tisches up there in New York, aren't there? All right, so Jessica Tisch with a nice statement, and I'm sure there's a lot more depth to this. I'm sure at those poker games, they were talking about all sorts of stuff. So they're indicted now. And I'm wondering how far this stuff goes. NFL, NBA, MLB, all of it probably got some element of this. And the dude pulls himself out of the game. So everybody bets on the under, right? You can say, well, I think this player is going to score 17 points. Over or under. If he scores more than 17, you win. If you pick the over, if you pick the under, he scores less than that, then you lose. And so he's going to come out and you set that right in the middle. He bails out after 9 minutes. He's like, I'll just take like a little shot. Everybody wins. What a scam. What a cheater. So NBA now busted. And it's nice to see nobody is above the law. Not even cheating athletes who are scamming people, not only in games, but in rigged poker games. Like, you don't make enough money. You got to go scam a bunch of people. How much is your contract for? You got to go get another $1 million in order to feel good about yourself. These people are just, it's a power thing. They just like to take it. They're just criminals ultimately. So we now see that they're brought to justice, now facing charges. They deserve their presumption of innocence, and they can make that known in the court of law. All right, now we got one final segment on the day. And then we'll hear from you and see what you say about all of this. But the FBI is back, now releasing some new information about the J6 pipe bomber, publishing this recently saying, hey, the FBI, in case you forgot, still offering a $500,000 reward for information that helps identify the person that placed pipe bombs at the offices of the DNC and the RNC on January 5th. Now, as part of our ongoing investigation, we are releasing an updated video of the subject, and it's going to include previously unreleased footage, higher quality video, and longer clips of the subject's movement. And this is good news because we know that Christopher Wray's original FBI released one of the most ridiculous videos we've ever seen in some bizarre frame rate, like 3 FPS. You're like, what? 3 frames per second? Is there even a camera in existence that records at that frame rate that you released to us? Well, people looked it up and the answer is no. It's not even real. So they manipulated it before they released it to us. So we've been waiting for some more answers on this. We think it's probably either, just speculating, Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger. They're both 5'7", I think. So here's what the FBI published for us previously. And now we've got a new video. Okay, this is the original page with some updates published back in January saying the pipe bombs from January 5th, and this is their information. January 5th, 2021. Pipe bomber was there. Here's the doc. You can see FBI offering up to a 490. Wait a minute. What? Oh my gosh. What a bunch of cheapskates. FBI are offering $490,000. Washington, the Metro Police, only $10,000. They don't really care. Like, how much can we give? Like $10,000 is good. So $500,000 total between the two. Between 7:30 and 8:30 Eastern Time on January 5th, an unknown individual placed 2 pipe bombs in the Capitol Hill neighborhood of Washington, D.C. One pipe bomb was placed in an alley behind the headquarters of the RNC located at that location, the other at the DNC. Unknown individual wore a face mask, glasses, gloves, gray hooded sweatshirt, black and light gray Nike Air Max Speed Turf shoes with a yellow logo, carried a backpack. Some of the components included a galvanized pipe, end caps, kitchen timers. We've covered this a lot. We actually went through the entire deconstruction of those pipe bombs in a prior video here. It's pretty interesting. And we also listened to another congressman who's on the new J6 committee who was investigating this, who asked a very good question. Were these training devices? Because it didn't seem like they were going to go off. Remember, there was a kitchen timer that had a basically paper clip that was super glued to it. And then that would close the circuit and ignite the bomb. And we went through and did an analysis of the bomb material inside. And it was explosive-ish material, but we don't know if it was actually mixed appropriately. And if you have a dog that's going to be responding to a training device, you want it to be able to attach to something. Once it sniffs the bomb, oh yeah, there's explosive material in there, the dog alerts, and now the training material is effective rather than just a completely inert pipe bomb. But there were also questions about whether there were other devices removed, and so on and so forth. So lots of open questions about this. And of course, the cell phone data that would have identified this person was corrupted, as we recall. And it's because the cell companies corrupted it in the processing of the request for the data. Very convenient. So lots of questions about this guy. We have, or gal, we've got questions that have been around for a long time. And now Kash Patel is releasing some more video footage. And so let's parse through it and see what's going on.
On January 5th, 2021, between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m., an unidentified individual placed pipe bombs near the offices of the Democratic National Committee and the Republican National Committee in Washington, D.C. The FBI and our partners are renewing our call for tips from the public to help us identify the suspect. A reward of up to $500,000 is available for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the individual responsible for this attempted attack. If you have any information, please call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. You can also submit tips online at tips.fbi.gov. The FBI's estimate is the suspect's height is approximately 5'7" tall. The suspect wore a face mask, a gray hooded sweatshirt, and black gloves. They used a backpack to transport each of the devices. They were wearing distinctive Nike Air Max Speed Turf shoes, which are black and gray with the yellow Nike logo. Fewer than 25,000 of these shoes were sold between August 2018 and January 2021. The first time the suspect is seen is at approximately 7:34 p.m. at the intersection of 1st Street and North Carolina Avenue Southeast. The person walks southwest on North Carolina Avenue, turns north on New Jersey Avenue, west on D Street, and then south on South Capitol Street. This footage of the suspect on South Capitol Street shows the person setting down their backpack, which is believed to contain one of the bombs at this time.
Where did he exit
The
from?
suspect appears to put on a pair of glasses and scan the area, standing on tiptoes. Before picking up the backpack, turning around, and heading back the way they came on South Capitol Street. After reaching the corner of D Street, the suspect turns around again, and this time walks south all the way down South Capitol Street
Maybe saw
to a
something
bench outside the Democratic National Committee
didn't
headquarters
like.
building.
Just kind of waiting for somebody to move on over there by the DNC. Maybe cops. Doubles back. Thinks about it. Okay, they're gone. Now I'll go. Now
Here we see the suspects sit on the bench for a few minutes. They do not place the bomb at this time.
we saw some of this footage released previously from the bench, and it was very, very low frame rates, and people were parsing through that.
The suspect then walks east on Ivy Street.
If you had smoother cameras, you could see the gate a little bit better.
Turns north on New Jersey Avenue, and then pauses near the corner of D Street before retracing their steps back to the DNC bench where the first bomb is placed.
So it looks like they're just monitoring, but it's pretty dead out there. Again, very choppy frame rates, but is that male or female type of gate? Man or woman? Again, like, you know, very, very slow. I wonder if they're giving us every other frame or something. I've always wondered that. Or if that's the actual frame rate. Just kind of looping around the building. First bomb dropped.
This footage shows the suspect sitting on the DNC bench before placing the first bomb.
Not sure that those cameras are exactly in sync. They look like a little bit maybe off. So he's reaching in. And these videos look better than the originals that we saw, which I feel like were even grainier and worse. So into the backpack, he's got something in his right hand. Sits on the bench, pretty well synced up now. And he's just tossing that in there.
Here we see the suspect place the bomb at approximately 7:54 p.m.
Very quiet, drops it, and he's off. Scooter right there. There's the bomb. So 7:54, remember, it was only a 1-hour timer, too.
From there, the person walks north on South Capitol Street.
To kind of swing in the bag a little bit.
East on D Street. South on New Jersey Avenue. Northeast on North Carolina Avenue, when we lose video coverage of the suspect at approximately 8 p.m. 8 minutes later, at about 8:08 p.m., we pick the suspect back up on camera heading north on 2nd Street. The suspect walks west on C Street, enters an alley that leads to Rumsey Court, and then walks west on Rumsey Court.
And then the lady who was doing her laundry went and did her laundry the next morning and found it.
This footage shows the suspect pass between the RNC and the Capitol Hill Club, holding the backpack
So you get to
out
see a
to
little
the
gate
side.
there, and it's a little...
The person continues between the RNC
Little
and
hip
the
swing.
Capitol Hill Club. Then continues north on 1st Street, east on C Street.
Doing another lap. See, much better
Back
frame
into
rate
the
there.
alley toward Rumsey Court. Back onto Rumsey Court.
Just kind of doing loops. Is he on a phone?
They place the second pipe bomb at approximately 8:16 p.m. The suspect then turns back onto Rumsey Court, walking east until the person is last seen on camera at approximately 8:18 p.m., wearing the backpack on their shoulders. The bomb is believed to have been placed shortly before this video, based on how the suspect is carrying the backpack. We still believe there is someone out there who has information they may not have realized was significant until now. We're asking you to come forward to share that information with the FBI. Please call the FBI with any information at 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit tips online at tips.fbi.gov. Tips can remain anonymous. A $500,000 reward is available for information that leads to
That's
the
a
arrest
lot.
and conviction of the person responsible for this dangerous attempt to harm innocent people.
Or it was a federal agent. So, yeah, very interesting. And you can kind of see the gait. I was noticing when he came around the corner there, you know, you kind of like looking for the hips. Is it a hip wiggle kind of a thing?
The RNC and the Capitol Hill Club holding the backpack out to the side.
Yeah.
The person continues.
So it could be a dude. I think maybe it could be a woman. Probably more likely a dude. Just maybe a little, fabulous or something. But there is the most recent video, and that's definitely better than whatever we saw before. We've got a lot more angles and a lot more, I think, granularity on the actual photos that we see. And lots of questions about this dude. And they just lost him again. And so where do they pick him up, right? When this started, What, did he come out of a building? What building? Did he come out of a hotel?
PM at the intersection of 1st Street and North Carolina. Black gloves. They used a backpack to transport each of shoes. 1,000 at the intersection of 1st Street and North Carolina Avenue Southeast. The person walks southwest.
Just finds him on the street. Like, where'd he come out from? So very interesting. We'd like the actual cell phone records that they corrupted and deleted. We know that Stephen D'Antonio and the FBI didn't really even look into this dude at the beginning. I mean, they said they did. And now we're having a fresh set of eyes on it. He put the pipe bomb right out. I mean, Kamala Harris pulled up, walked by. There were kids there walking by. The Secret Service didn't even catch it. Whole thing feels like it is an operation. It was a training operation by some intelligence agency, or it was an operation that was passed off as an intelligence operation. And it was a fake excuse once the pipe bombs were discovered to draw resources away from the Capitol building so that the Capitol building would be unsecured and they could invite everybody in. There was one scene from the other side of the Capitol, not the violent side, where they just were tapping the cops on the shoulder and the cops just stood down and let everybody come in. Everybody who walked in was an insurrectionist walking in the building because the cops moved out of the way. So we're happy about this, man. The January 6th stuff and the undercover agents, the pipe bomber, the Ray Epps scandal, all of the all the lies about it, the Proud Boys attacks. I mean, the judges preventing evidence from coming in at trial. We know that there were dozens of HSI agents that were there on scene that we never get to talk about or hear about. We want answers on this. And we want to know why the January 6th committee deleted a bunch of evidence when they handed it off to the House administrative body before the Republicans took back over, and why they all got pardons that are invalid. We have a lot of questions about this. We're very happy to see the FBI is still on it. We hope we get answers from this administration, because if we don't, then we probably never will. And this will turn into another, JFK thing where 60 years from now, we're still screaming about it. So good news on that. Happy to see the FBI. If you know anything, call the feds. We don't say that often, but turn this probably federal agent in if you have any information, and get yourself that 500 G's. All right. So my beautiful friends, what an amazing day it is. And before we wrap it up, I see that Caroline just came out and she is live right now. So let's chip in on this one and see what Caroline has to say before we
Illegal alien from Laos was arrested for murder,
hear from
robbery,
you.
and felony possession of a firearm. An illegal alien from Guatemala who was arrested for rape and burglary. An illegal alien from El Salvador who was arrested for strangulation, DUI, and burglary. An illegal alien from Mexico who was arrested for attempted murder. The Democrats' open border policies allowed these threats into our country, and then they provided them with free health care. The president and Republicans, through the One Big Beautiful Bill, implemented a common sense reform to end this fraudulent scheme. But that's why the Democrats are continuing to shut down the federal government. They are trying to reverse this and restore taxpayer-funded health care for illegal aliens like these. Throughout this shutdown, Democrats have said this quiet part out loud. Senator Chuck Schumer, the leader of the caucus that is refusing to open the government, said, quote, "Every day gets better as the shutdown continues." Ask the air traffic controllers if every day is getting better, Senator Schumer, and they will tell you absolutely not. House Democrat Catherine Clark said, "There are going to be families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility seriously, but this is one of the few leverage points that we have." Here is a House Democrat who is admitting that they are using Americans who are suffering as political leverage. And Senator Bernie Sanders said, "If you reopen the government, we lose our leverage." This is pure partisan games. A senior Democrat aide said the party will not end the shutdown, quote, "short of planes falling out of the sky."
Whoa! That
is truly a disturbing statement.
Yeah.
The Democrats clearly don't care about this suffering. They care about playing political games against President Trump, and this dangerous charade needs to end. The president and Republicans' position has been clear and unchanged. Pass a clean, nonpartisan funding bill to reopen the government. And then we can talk about all of the partisan issues that the Democrats wish to. If you're watching at home, we urge you to call your Democrat senators and tell them to put our country over their party and reopen the government today.
We have Gallego
Here in our new media seat, we
and
have
Mark
Brittany
Kelly.
Gibson of Axios. Brittany, why don't you start us off for our Q&A
All right,
today.
Q&A.
Thank you for being here.
Two questions, if I may, Caroline. First is, we understand that the president and Republicans will not negotiate on ACA extensions until the government reopens. If and when that happens, what does the president think should be, or what are his plans for preventing rising healthcare costs for Americans?
It's a very good question, and I'll leave that to the president to negotiate that when Democrats vote to reopen the government. When it comes to lowering healthcare costs, the president is deeply committed to this. It's why he has spent so much time and effort negotiating with Big Pharma to lower the healthcare costs of prescription drugs. All of you have been in the Oval Office for multiple different announcements. We've had these most favored nations deals with these large pharmaceutical companies committing to lowering drug costs in this country. So it's something the president wants to do. And Brittany, one more point. I'll just point out the irony in Democrats holding the government and the American public hostage over a healthcare system that they created. The healthcare system was called Obamacare.
Yeah, we remember.
Why? Because Democrats and
Supposed
President
to lower
Obama
costs.
implemented
Remember
it.
that?
And Republicans have always said it's a broken system, yes, but they caused it, and now they want to shut down the government to fix it. We need to open the government, and then we can have these very important conversations about health care.
And the second, on H-1Bs and foreign students, during the campaign,
Cancel.
President Trump said he wanted to make it easier for foreign students to work at U.S. companies, staple a green card to every diploma. But the changes from several agencies now on H-1Bs are adding more obstacles to that. The administration is being sued over those changes. Can you explain the changes to the president's thinking on H-1Bs?
The administration will fight these lawsuits in court. The president's main priority has always been to put American workers first and also to strengthen our visa system. We know for far too long the H-1B visa system has been spammed with fraud, basically, and that's driven down American wages. So the president wants to refine this system, which is part of the reason he implemented these new policies. These actions are lawful, they are necessary, and we'll continue to fight this battle in court.
Nice.
Garrett.
Two questions on different topics, if you'll
Sure.
indulge me. On the pardon of Changping Xiao, and apologies if I'm mispronouncing that name, Binance has significant business interests with World Liberty Financial, the president's family's crypto company. How do you respond
Crypto
to the
party
allegations
just
from
happened this
Democrats
morning
that this is a
From
corrupt
a
act?
major crypto company called
I would
Binance.
respond and say the president is exercising his constitutional authority to grant clemency requests. And the president and the White House have a very thorough examination of every pardon request that comes to the president's desk. It is thoroughly reviewed by the White House Counsel Office, and I spoke with our great White House counsel about the pardon after it happened. This was an overly prosecuted case by the Biden administration. Even the judge in the case admitted that the Biden administration was pursuing a egregious over-sentencing of this individual. And the previous administration was very hostile to the cryptocurrency industry. So the president wants to correct this overreach of the Biden administration's misjustice, and he exercised his constitutional authority to do so. And to the Democrats, I would just say there's nothing more corrupt than what President Biden did on his way out the door, pardoning his extremely corrupt son and many of his associates.
Yeah, and the extremely corrupt Liz Cheney.
The Ballroom, the first of which will probably be several questions about this today, I imagine.
Is it a big story?
It seems that way.
It seems like it is.
The president's cost estimate has changed several times. I think it's up to $300 million now. Given the nature of all this, will the White House commit to releasing all of the donors and how much they're spending and how much of his own money the president is putting on the line to this?
We have released the full list of donors thus far. Perhaps there will be more people who want to generously contribute to this project. And the president, yes, has committed his own resources. And when he releases that information, which I'm very confident he will, you will all see that.
We'll see a dollar figure from the president?
Yes, he will. And I would also just add the president has been incredibly transparent. I would reject any notion otherwise when it comes to this Ballroom project. It's something he personally has obviously taken an interest into and has talked with all of you in this room many times about. You have seen the
Switching feeds over to a much better one from the White House.
Remarks about what this Ballroom project was going to look like. With any construction project, there are changes over time as you assess what the project is going to look like, and we'll continue to keep you apprised of all of those changes, but just trust the process. This is going to be a magnificent addition to the White House for many years to come, and it's not costing the taxpayers anything. The president is privately funding this ballroom addition to the White House grounds. Jennifer.
To follow up on that, one thing that's not in the president's model is the East Wing bunker, the president's emergency operations center. Can you say if his update, that $300 million, does that include the cost for upgrading that bunker?
There's a bunker in there?
Look, like any security enhancements that are made on the White House grounds, those will be made and maintained by United States Secret Service. As for the cost of the ballroom and the construction itself, all of that is going to be, like I've said, privately funded and paid for by the president himself and many generous patriots who have stepped up.
Included in that funding?
Correct.
Okay, and then can you say, well, that's all right, I'll skip that one. Thanks.
Ouija.
Okay.
So the White House has explained that the reason you didn't submit construction plans to the NCPC is because that commission, along with others, don't have oversight over demolitions, but only over construction. And so far, you haven't built anything. So can you help us understand, can the president tear down anything he wants without oversight? Could he demolish this building or, say, the Jefferson Memorial?
So it's not the president who came up with that legal opinion himself. That's a legal opinion that's been held by the NCPC for many years. It's written, so we can get you that background and that research if you wish to include it in your reporting, because it is very important. They have ruled consistently, their general counsel has said, when it comes to phase one of this project, the tearing down of the current East Wing structure, a submission is not required legally for that. Only for vertical construction will a submission be required, and that's a legal opinion from them, and we are following that legal opinion. And again, I would just add, can any president do such a thing to the White House grounds? There have been many presidents in the past who have made their mark on this beautiful White House complex. This briefing room, as you all know, was not once a briefing room. It was a swimming pool. There have been presidents who have completely torn down the executive mansion. If you look at what President Truman did, some of the photos of the construction project that took place in those years, I think sitting here today, we're all grateful for those efforts and the modifications that happened at that time. And again, in due time, the East Wing is going to be more beautiful and modern than ever before, and in addition, there will be a big, beautiful ballroom that can hold big parties and state visits for generations to come.
So it sounds like the answer is yes, he can tear down whatever he wants. And then secondly, I mean,
that's not what we're saying. That's a legal opinion that's been held for many years. And
interpreting it.
No, it's something that presidents have done for years and years. In fact, I have some photos here. Thank you, Pat, to show you the construction that's taken place on the White House grounds. This is the construction of the West Wing in 1902. Look at this, the construction of the West Terrace in 1902. These images look quite similar to what you and the American people are seeing today, the construction of the East Terrace as well. Look at the construction of the West Wing expansion in 1934. So look, this is a legal opinion that's been held for many years. Look at, this is 1950.
Yes,
it looks a lot like what we're seeing today.
Can he demolish anything he wants?
What do you think that
what
rubble
does that look like?
How did that rubble get there?
Right, so I'm asking, and then back to the donors.
Go ahead, Reagan.
How'd that rubble get there?
Reagan, go ahead.
One on immigration and another on Venezuela. It's being reported that the semi-truck driver suspected of killing 3 people in a DUI crash is an illegal immigrant who came in under the Biden administration. Do you know if California gave him a commercial driver's license? And then it also appears that California largely has not been cooperating with English proficiency standards. I'm wondering if the administration has any further plans to punish the state.
Yes, I can confirm that California gave this individual a license, and it is something that the Department of Transportation has already looked into. I know Secretary Duffy, who's doing a phenomenal job, has spoken on this many times in the crackdown that the Department of Transportation is taking on these licenses that are wrongfully being issued to people who clearly do not deserve to uphold these positions.
Nope.
As for this case in California, on October 22nd, ICE lodged an immigration detainer for this individual following his arrest by local authorities in California on charges, as you know, of manslaughter while intoxicated and driving under the influence. He killed 3 people, and he first entered the United States in 2022. through the southern border, and he was released into our country by the previous administration. So now ICE has lodged a separate detainer for this individual, and these tragedies are following a disturbing pattern of these criminal illegal aliens being issued commercial vehicle licenses. And so yes, the Department of Transportation is absolutely cracking down on that. I'd defer you to them for any specifics.
Venezuela, President Trump has said Maduro doesn't want to mess with the United States, and this administration is continuing to position more military assets towards Venezuela. I'm wondering if the end goal of this narco-terrorist war is to implement a regime change in Venezuela.
The president has spoken on that, Reagan, and I certainly won't get ahead of him. What we've made very clear is that this administration is not going to tolerate international narco-terrorist organizations from trafficking drugs into the United States. And these cartels over time have grown more armed, well-organized, and violent. They have financial means, sophistication, and capabilities needed to operate in the way this administration has. And they have illegally caused the deaths of tens of thousands of American citizens each year. So that's where we are right now with respect to Venezuela, but also any country that is sending purposefully illegal narco-terrorists to the United States of America to bring illegal drugs. Why don't we go in the back?
The U.S. and Colombian relationship right now is at one of its lowest points in decades. We heard what President Gustavo Petro had to say about President Trump. We heard yesterday the response from President Trump. Is there any kind of compromises or gestures from the Colombian president that President Trump would like to see in order to de-escalate the tensions? Is it possible
question. Good framing.
De-escalation?
I don't think we're seeing de-escalation from the unhinged leader of Colombia right now, and I don't think the president, frankly, is interested in that at this point. He spoke on this yesterday, and
neither is
I don't
Caroline.
have anything to add to his comments. Go
Unhinged.
ahead.
You want to de-escalate? Tell your unhinged psycho leader.
Ballroom and the Rose Garden
I'm going
patio.
into the back. Sorry. Go ahead.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden patio, is the president looking at any other renovations or significant kind of projects here at the White House?
Not to my knowledge, no. But he's a builder at heart, clearly. And so his heart and his mind is always churning about how to improve things here on the White House grounds. But at this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority. Kristen.
Last week, President Trump announced that he had a productive call with Vladimir Putin. They scheduled a meeting in Hungary. Since then, he has canceled the meeting and he has imposed sanctions on Russian oil companies. Can you talk about what changed that led to this dramatic shift, or even just what occurred in the last week that got us from point A to point B?
Sure. Look, the president has always maintained that he would implement sanctions on Russia when he felt it was appropriate and necessary. And yesterday was that day. I think the president has also long expressed his frustration with Vladimir Putin and, frankly, both sides of this war. And he's always said in order to negotiate a good peace deal, both sides need to be interested in a good peace deal. And he feels as though, unfortunately, from the Russian side as of late, he has not seen enough interest and enough action in terms of moving the ball forward towards peace. And so a meeting between these two leaders is not completely off the table. I think the president and the entire administration hopes that one day that can happen again, but we want to make sure that there's a tangible, positive outcome out of that meeting, and that it's a good use of the president's time. Of course, he's traveling to Asia next week. He has a number of events coming up here on the home front as well. He's been incredibly busy, as you all know. You're all tired from covering him and his movements every day, and so we want to make sure it's a good use of the president's time, and the president doesn't want to waste his time, and he said that.
Was it the call between the Secretary of State and Lavrov that led President Trump to believe that President Putin or the Russians did not want a peace deal?
That was not the sole reason, no. I think the Secretary Rubio felt that was actually a productive call. But again, the president wants to make sure that a meeting between himself and President Putin will be a good use of his time.
What exactly led to President Trump not believing, after his call on Thursday, where he said he did think he wanted peace and wanted a peace deal, to believing that Russians were not?
Again, the president wants to see action, not just talk. And I think the president is extremely motivated by the success of his peace deal in the Middle East to get things done. And he wants this war to come to an end. He's been saying it now for 9 months being in office, and he's grown increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress from both sides of this war. Mary.
For example. Two quick construction questions, if I can. You mentioned any construction project comes with changes. The president had initially said that this project wouldn't interfere with or touch the current structure. Now he says to do this properly, he realized that the East Wing had to be demolished. This is the people's house. Why not inform the public of that change and when it was decided that the East Wing would have to be demolished?
Look, again, with any construction project, changes come, and we have informed all of you. We've been keeping you apprised of this project. We've shown you the renderings, and if you look at the renderings, it's very clear the East Wing was going to be modernized. Instead, in fact, I said that in the briefing when we initially introduced this plan to all of you and to the public.
But the East and tearing down are two different things.
Well, again, the plans changed when the president heard counsel from the architects and the construction companies who said that in order for this East Wing to be modern and beautiful for many, many years to come, for it to be a truly strong and stable structure, this phase one that we're now in was necessary. And the president wants to do right by the people's house. And so that's exactly what he's doing. It's going to be, again, like I said, much more stable, strong, secure, and more beautiful than ever once.
These people have never built anything in their lives. They can't figure it out.
The social secretary's office in the East, they will be back where they were.
Yes.
Careful. Thank you. Cattle ranchers who supported the president's election have raised some concerns
Gosh.
about plans.
There's a country also to run.
How will the Trump administration support those farmers?
Look, the president hears those concerns. He addressed them yesterday himself. President loves our ranchers, and our ranchers love our president. And in fact, the president did a lot for them in his first term here. They are struggling because of the many horrible policies of the previous administration. The president loves our ranchers, and he also loves American consumers, and he wants to do right by both. So the immediate solution to the problem of the rising cost of beef, the president wants to bring that down, is we have to increase our supply. And so that's what he's doing with respect to these imports. But the president also is looking out for our ranchers with a long-term plan that was released by the Secretary of Agriculture yesterday. It's a 3-part plan. It's very extensive and detailed. I would encourage all of you to read through it. But there's really 3 points to this plan that the president has agreed upon and has entrusted Secretary Rollins to implement. Number 1, strengthening U.S. cattle production through increased grazing access, endangered species reforms, enhanced disaster relief, increased access to capital, and reducing costs for new and young ranchers. We want to incentivize more Americans to get into this noble profession. Lowering long-term costs by cutting inspection costs, increasing market options for consumers with product of USA labeling, and ensuring consumers know that they are eating American beef. It's a good incentive for the American consumer. And lastly, growing the domestic herd while boosting long-term demand to reduce prices for consumers while growing the markets for our ranchers. So President hears them. He has to address both of these problems for the ranchers, but also for the American consumer. He promised to lower costs, and that's what he's committed to doing.
Caroline, thank you. 2 questions not on the ballroom. The first is, there's a Democrat in Texas who's actually running for Congress who said last night during an interview when talking about fighting Republicans and this administration, quote, "If you hit me in my face, I'm not going to punch you back in your face.
Yolanda.
I'm going to go across your neck." This has obviously really upset those folks over at Turning Point USA after the Charlie Kirk assassination. Just your response to that kind of rhetoric.
Just very jarring rhetoric, and I think it's very unacceptable. I hope the people of Texas will do the right thing and reject this person's candidacy. It should have no place in American politics.
And then just a quick second question on oversight Democrats that are saying that they're creating this master ICE tracker, basically tracking all ICE activity. We've seen the protests in New York just yesterday. Homeland Security is saying that this sounds like obstruction of justice. What do you say?
Again, this is actively putting the lives of our ICE agents at risk. We've seen media outlets, in fact, in this room also write stories about ICE tracker apps that Democrats and other left-wing activists have created to track the location of ICE agents on the ground in our communities. Again, I've said this repeatedly and I will continue to say it. The men and women of ICE are outstanding people. I wish a Democrat on Capitol Hill would actually have the courage or the guts to stand up to their party and sit down with some of these men and women who are doing this incredibly difficult job of enforcing our federal immigration laws. They are, again, simply trying to enforce the law and do their jobs. And if Democrats spent a little bit more time understanding that and also focusing on the people who they are trying to get out of our country every single day.
Right.
As I spoke about earlier, 3 innocent people in California are dead because an illegal alien who Democrats let into this country was wrongfully issued a trucker's driving license and clearly was not fit for the job because he was driving intoxicated and killed 3 innocent people. Democrats should focus a little bit more on that. Stop trying to fight this president and this administration on every turn and restore law and order. That's all that we and these brave men and women of ICE are trying to do. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I have 2 questions, one on San Francisco and one on the No Kings protesters. On San Francisco, the president said that he had a call with the mayor and he was planning on surging there, but now because the mayor really wants to fix it up himself, they're going to do that. Is this what Trump hopes happens in pretty much every city?
The president hopes, and I've said this so many times, and I think the president's conversation with the San Francisco mayor last night and his statement today prove the president is willing to work with anyone across the aisle, across the country, to do the right thing and clean up America's cities. He is genuinely interested in this effort to make our streets safer, to make our cities safe and clean again. And he heard from the mayor last night, who told him that he is going to earnestly try to make his city better on his own. The president heard him out. He said, okay, I'll give you a chance. We'll be watching, and if you need us, we are here. And if I feel as though you continue to fail your citizens, the federal government may have to step in. But we'll continue to watch San Francisco, and that law enforcement operation has now been paused.
Thank you. And then on the No Kings protesters, I saw videos of people explicitly calling for violence against Stephen Miller, against the president, shirts saying we don't have enough assassins, calling for more political violence. Does the president want to see arrests here, and are we going to see arrests of these types of explicit calls to violence?
I would think myself, the president, and everyone here at the White House certainly hopes that anyone who is making violent and illegal threats in that way against public officials will be arrested and prosecuted.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. 2 questions. Would the president support the Senate ending the legislative filibuster to end the shutdown?
This is something I haven't heard the president talk about much, so I don't want to speak on him for it. I'll let him answer that question himself.
And do you have an update on the NASA administrator nominee? Do you plan to nominate anyone soon? Or does the president nominate anyone soon?
I'll leave that to the president
Very
himself.
loud.
He'll make a decision in due time, and when he does, you will hear directly from him, as you always do. Back, we'll give our friends in the back a chance. Yes.
As you mentioned at the top of the briefing, USDA has warned that it will run out of funds to pay full SNAP benefits next month if the shutdown continues. Senator Hawley is floating a bill that would ensure SNAP benefits are continued to pay during the shutdown. Would the president support such a move? And you also announced that the administration was using tariff revenue to keep WIC going during the shutdown. How long will that last? And is anything similar being considered for SNAP?
Yes, the administration would absolutely support that legislation. We hope that it would come over the finish line, but the bill that will get everyone paid and put everyone back to work is the clean continuing resolution. That's what the president
Just
and
sign that
Republicans
one.
want to see. Ed, go ahead, Ed.
Thanks, Carolyn. On the Russian sanctions again, how much pressure do you think this sanctioning these 2 Russian companies actually puts on President Putin? Because the last administration sanctioned 2 other oil companies. So how much economic pressure is this really?
A lot. If you read the sanctions and look at them, they're pretty hefty. And I saw some international news out of China this morning that they're scaling back oil purchases from Russia. We know India has done the same at the request of the president. The president has also pushed European countries, our allies, to please stop their purchases of Russian oil as well. So it's full court press for sure, and we expect that these sanctions are going to do harm, as the Secretary of Treasury said yesterday.
Could there be more? Is this just the first step, or could there be more sanctions?
I'll leave that to the president to decide. Sure.
Or heard the NBA gambling, involved in the gambling issue there. Does the president gamble? What does he think about that?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't think he does. I've been with him quite some time, and I have not seen him gamble before. I don't think he's a big gambler, but you can ask him yourself for next time you have a chance to, Ed. Go ahead.
Thank you, Carolyn. I've got 2
Hi,
quick
Jake,
questions.
and then we'll go to you. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
2 quick questions. Back to the ballroom. It is a very spectacular ballroom, according to the renderings, and
it's going to be great.
If it's half as nice as the one in Mar-a-Lago, then future presidents are really going to appreciate it.
They will. Thank you, Jake.
First of all, is there like an official name? Like, are we calling it the Trump Ballroom, or does the president have a vision for what the name for the ballroom is going to be?
Charlie Kirk Ballroom.
There will be an official name. I will let the president announce that once he firmly decides on it.
Question is, looking at these renderings, and it kind of got me thinking, he's likely going to go down as the greatest builder of this era, and you've been in on a lot of those meetings with him. Has, to your knowledge, has the subject of rebuilding the Holy Temple in Jerusalem come up?
It has not, no.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I don't. I'm sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
Caroline, On the CZ pardon, could this clear the way for Binance to resume U.S. operations?
I won't get ahead of that. That's something for Treasury or the Departments of Commerce to comment on, so you're welcome to ask them.
And then one follow-up question. Any more details on the president's Walter Reed visit? The readout from his doctor mentioned advanced imaging. What procedure was he referring to?
Advanced imaging is something that presidents receive and people receive when they go to the doctor. And so we provide a detailed readout of that physical, and I would encourage you back to that. Presidents and I don't know the exact imaging that took place, but as the physician's note said, the president is in incredibly good shape, and I think that's evidenced here every single day. Danny.
Caroline. Back to the ballroom, I'm afraid. I just
Can't
wanted
get
to
over
ask, because in July, the White House said that it would cost $200 million. Yesterday, the president said $300 million. Is $300 million now the operative figure, and why did it go up by so much?
$300 million is the figure, and again, it's not going to cost the taxpayers a dime. So we look forward to this project continuing, and we will continue to keep everyone apprised on it. Perhaps the president will even bring you all out to see it one day at the appropriate time. You're also going to hear from the president directly in about an hour. He's hosting an event with the Homeland Security Task Force. This was a newly created federal task force that the president and his law enforcement team have put together. I would encourage you all to tune in to the remarks. They have really done a tremendous job at refocusing how federal law enforcement and local law enforcement work together. There will be some local sheriffs and law enforcement officials in attendance as well, and they'll be talking about the success and the many arrests they have made of drug traffickers and cartel members all across the country by just simply working together. So we will see you at the event. Thank you.
Caroline Levitt in the house. All right, so some good stuff there. We actually talked about a lot of the questions that came out. We talked a little bit about the ballroom stuff and Hakeem Jeffries going to go investigate everybody for that. They have never apparently done demolition in their entire lives or had anything, like have never built a house or had your kitchen remodeled or something. It's really pretty embarrassing of the press to spend so much time on that when we have a whole country to run, but that's all they care about is ballrooms, I guess. So, my friends, it has been a beautiful stream. Thank you so much for joining us on this early stream. As another reminder, we will not be here tomorrow because I got a very good talking to from many of you who said tomorrow it should be about the wedding. So we're taking off tomorrow. So we'll not be here tomorrow. We'll publish the segments from today, and then we'll be off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then when we come back on Monday, should be a married man. I kind of feel like President Trump right now. It's like, you know, we're meeting on Saturday and hopefully we can make a deal. We're going to be there. I'm going to be there. She's going to be there. All her people will be there. All my people will be there. And we'll see what we can do. You know, we're hopeful. We've been working at this for a long time. 2 years. Many people don't even know this. We've been working at it for 2 years now. And so we'll see what happens. We're going to be there. I mean, I'm optimistic about it. I think she's optimistic about it. She says very nice things about me. I mean, have you heard about the things she says about me? Very handsome and all the things. And many people don't know this about us, but we've been together for a while, you know? And I probably shouldn't even say this, but, you know, I might get in trouble for saying this. But I pinched her butt last night, and it's true. So we'll see what happens. You know, a lot of people never thought this was going to happen. A lot of people never thought it was even going to be a real thing. But we're going to meet together, and so we'll see what happens. And if there is not a deal, if we don't walk out of there with a deal, there will be fire and fury, the wraths of which you have never seen before. You understand me? But I think we'll have a deal. We'll come back out after Saturday. We'll come back on Monday. And I think we'll be able to work things out. A lot of people say it's not going to happen, but I think we'll get it done. All right, so my friends, so that's kind of how I feel right now. You know what I'm saying? All right, so we're excited about it. Let's see what you say about all of this. And I got a good talking to, man, last night in the after party. We were planning on coming here tomorrow morning. Even Alexis said, yeah, do your stream, you know, have a nice send off and all the things. And, and so, but I got a talking to. Sergeant Bob, many others said, are you an idiot? And I said, yes, obviously. So they said, you're not streaming tomorrow. I said, all right. But we'll have good pictures. We have a videographer. We have the whole thing going. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. We should have a deal. We'll see. We should have a deal tomorrow. So on Saturday, we'll see. My friends, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for your love. We also did put the registry link. I think the registry link is in the notes. Hopefully it's in there. So if you're wanting to buy us something nice, we'd very much appreciate it. Many of you already have. We've got a lot of boxes and we're super grateful for you. So thank you for everything. We really appreciate the love and we're really appreciative of it. So thank you so much. And thank you for these donos as well. Ralph Neves, upgraded membo to shout out. We are going to have a members only after party. So stick around. We'll debrief on the day. Come and join us. If you're a YouTube membo, things should just automatically transfer over. Rick D, what's up? Hey, yeah, this is a good solution. He says the CIA is going to replace waterboarding with a video of Kamala reading her new book. There's a terrorist. He's like, just kill me. Just kill me right now. I'll tell you where the bombs are, I swear, but you have to use one on me right now. I'll tell you where they're at, but we have to detonate them immediately. I can't take one more minute. It's a good strategy. Hey, the Rubos. This may be the last morning live stream Rob does before getting married. It's historic. It's true. It's going to be like an adult husband soon. Hey, historic. Can't wait to see all the goodness that emerges out of this blessed union. Many people were encouraging Rob to take Friday off. What say you, Rob? I think that's the plan. Unless we wake up tomorrow and like Hillary Clinton's indicted or something, then we'll have to do a very short Hillary indictment stream. But otherwise, I think we'll take the morning off. We got a good talking to last night. If you didn't join us on the after party, it was pretty unanimous. And I was not expecting that, honestly. I thought you'd be like, yeah, no, you got plenty of time in the morning. Just do it before you leave. But I think that's the solution. And you guys know better than I do. So thank you for the advice. Don't want to start off my marriage with divorce-like activity, Chubby, on the news this morning, Newsom is deploying the National Guard to help at overwhelmed food banks because of the Trump administration shutdown. You just can't make this garbage up. Oh, that's amazing. Overwhelmed food banks. That's what the National Guard can be used for, because Gavin's city, his state, apparently just can't function, can't even feed their own people, probably because there's too many illegals there. Maybe if the National Guard helped send the illegals home, there'd be a lot more food for everybody. Hey, Brian Fowler. What's up, Brian? Thank you for this, Brian. Congratulations, Rob. Love the show. Thank you very much, Brian. We're super excited about it. And thank you for sending those over. Thanks for being a membo. Thanks for the nice dono. We love you being here, and we appreciate that. Thank you for that. Brian Fowler in the house. You're awesome. Ravicus, what's up? Says, in my opinion, why the press writes outlandish stories is twofold. One is the repeated bashing of the distorted truth to manipulate our perception. Yeah, it's to manufacture reality or to manufacture consent. Okay, it's to brainwash us. And the other is that these stories will be published and it will be easier to rewrite history using those fake stories. Absolutely true. And I think we're in now a battle of AI. So a lot of this is going to be a measure of quantity. Like you've seen this in AI, right? AI gobbles up all of the data. There's more stories from psycho liberals saying something about an issue than there are conservatives. And so the AI presumes that is truth. So it's almost like, you want to take a lot of shots on goal, right? So the more information you can put out there, there's a shot on goal. There's more likelihood that your story, your narrative will win. So everybody's trying to flood the zone right now with information that will SEO, that will search engine optimize to come to the tops, and will AIO, like AI optimize as well. Chad Preston. Hey, Chad. Thanks for doing this. Chad Preston in the house. 20 new membos coming in. We'll see you in the after party coming up soon. What's up? Bubba Homeschools here. Marilyn Pono Marenko. We got Will Call Magic. We got Lisa Boschel, TB85, The Bearded Brewer. Welcome. Glenneth Games. Tumbleweed. My wife's name is Alexis Lopez. Alexis Ray Lopez is her name. She's amazing. Muffin Rando. And she's got a great book on Amazon called, but it's under her new name, which is going to be Alexis Gouveia. So it hasn't been officially changed yet, but it's coming up. So Bionic Boomer, what's up? Snowman is here. We got Pete 2E, Rob Kane, I'm the Man, Jane Monroe, welcome. Malarkey, Mama Sari. We got RB Prath Coleman. and Chris Sawyer all in the house. So yeah, if you're going to look up my fiance, soon to be wife, check out under Alexis Gouveia. You can look her up under on Amazon and get her new book too. Vicky Brown, what's up? Eric Bates in the house. Welcome aboard. Thank you, Chad, for bringing them in. Very much appreciate that. Chad Preston, thank you for this one. 5 more coming in, Chad. Julianne Berry, Brian Weber. What's up, Jay Heath? Tomaz Tomsky in the house. And what's up, Renee Gamache in the house. All gifted membos courtesy of Chad. Yeah, Kellen Miller says, how does an illegal get a CDL? Probably has some fake documentation, and California gives them to illegals. Like, they don't require you to be a citizen. They don't validate it at all. Who hired him? Somebody who just said, oh, you're a citizen because he's got some fake paperwork and you have a license. So California, right? The cities are enabling it. What's up? Milan says Newsom needs to be sent to jail for vehicular homicide. ×3. Yeah, how far back does the chain of causation go? Does it go back to the politicians, right? They all have some sort of immunity depending on their position generally. But should they? What's up, Charles Jansen? What's up, Charles? All states should disallow all California driver's licenses, as well as Minnesota. Victims' families need to sue Gavin Newsom. Newvin Gassam. Yeah, good to see you, Charles. Yeah, there's no consequences to it. They cannot enforce the law. They can violate their oaths. They can create sanctuary cities that are in direct opposition to American law. And there are no consequences for their actions. And the politicians are all bought off by the illegals, so there are no political consequences either. Isn't that perfect? Kellen Miller. What's up, Kellen? Man, I was almost killed by an illegal driving a semi a couple months ago. Blew a red light at 70 miles per hour while I made a protected left, missed me by a foot. Yeah, maybe he was drunk too, just like whatever that dude's name was. Kellen Miller, really glad that didn't happen. Yeah. And did he get in an accident? Like, how do you know he's illegal or something? Or maybe hit somebody else, blew a red light. Terrible. Terrible. Man, killing people shouldn't be here. Hey, Ray, what's up? There's a trucker channel who got a video of a California DOT inspector openly saying they've been instructed to ignore the law to a driver in an inspection bay. Yeah. Like if they're a non-citizen or they see a problem. I used to represent a lot of truckers, and truckers in Arizona, they definitely do get picked on, and it's a class 1 misdemeanor here for many of their offenses. And you'd see these cops like just hanging out just to like bust the truck drivers for like, flapping mud flaps and stuff like that. And by the way, like, I think it should be people get killed. These are huge vehicles, like a lot of responsibility, but I represented a lot of good truckers too. But what we're seeing now, like with these people who can't speak English and stuff, like that's like a newer phenomenon. And I've been practicing for a while. We've been here, but yeah, it feels like there's been a little bit of a shift. Like when I was practicing, it used to be very serious and the truckers were very serious about it. And now it's just like these dudes just hanging U-turns on the highways. Like, what the hell happened over the last 4 years? Highline 9, what's up? Hey, thoughts to Knox. Knox summoned some prayers yesterday. And current issues. Grateful Dead music have gotten me through a lifetime of hard times. Songs to soothe the soul and a lift when needed. When you are the eyes of the world. Back from the 70s, 1977. Highline 9, good to see you. I don't have a lot of Grateful Dead experience, but prayers up for Knox and all who need them. Thank you for that, Highline 9. Thank you for the nice dono. Very nice. Voice of the people. Hey, my word of advice on Saturday, don't lock your knees because I will laugh if you faceplant. Enjoy the honeymoon, brother. Thank you for that, Voice of the people. Yeah, I guess if you lock your knees and you're standing too long, you black out. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, hopefully I don't black out on the honeymoon, but it's a possibility. We'll see what happens. I mean, we'll all be there. We'll see what happens. Mary C, thank you, Voice of the people. Mary C, does anyone know if sanctuary city designations are constitutional? Has the Supreme Court heard any cases relating to their legality? Yeah, I mean, many. Like so it's not like if you're asking about the designation, I don't know exactly what that means, but like there are sanctuary city policies And so many of the policies are being challenged. For example, we know that Harmeet in the civil division, they're suing in many locations for various policies. So it depends on the policy. And yeah, I think many states can pass laws that allow them to not enforce the law. But now we're having a conflict since the executive, the federal government is now coming in to say we can, basically override you and conduct our deportations, even if you're not going to help us, and use federal resources to do that. So it's like, can the federal government override some of those sanctuary policies with enforcement of federal law? I think the answer to that is yes. We have the Supremacy Clause, and the Supreme Court is going to have to deal with a lot of those issues, and very soon, because the prior administrations just allowed the sanctuary cities to exist. There was no contention around it. Trump is not allowing that to happen now. So I think a lot of these sub-issues that are bundled up to call a city a sanctuary city, they're sanctuaries because of many of their policies. So the policies are all, being challenged right now. Rubos at rubosaltshop.com. Hey, speaking of Newsom, because of the shutdown and the Fed SNAP benefits about to run out, he's going to deploy the National Guard to support food banks statewide after November 1. Apparently, he's expecting riots, food riots in California. Tony Moon, the awesome rooftop Korean, great name, is warning of widespread looting in grocery stores. California is deploying the National Guard, wild, for food banks. What a disaster of a state that is. Thank you, Rubos. Hey, what's up, Sev Russ? Bro, love to you and Alexis. Have an awesome wedding. Thank you, Sev Russ. It's here, man. It's right here. Golly, it's happening soon. Sev Russ, thank you for the dono and for being a member. Emmanuel Mendoza, always amazing work, brother. Thank you, Emmanuel. Mendoza in the house. Appreciate you joining us. We'll hopefully see you in the after party as well. Sean of Thyme says Fetterman invoked Godwin's law against his own party, which is epic. And that's the Hitler law, right? It's like no matter what you talk about, if it's politics or something, you're going to talk about Hitler. It always devolves into Hitler. Every argument says, well, the Nazi, you don't want to be a Nazi, do you? You're like, I was talking about gas prices. Chill out. But it's like, well, Hitler used gas, Okay. That's not where I thought it was going. Jeffrey Adams. Don't trust Fetterman, all right? He talks crap, but he votes with the Democrats 85 to 90% of the time. It's true. Yeah, he's a Democrat, but maybe he'll leave now that he realizes parties are filled with psychos. So Jeffrey Adams, and he's getting smarter every day. It's pretty good. Happy to see it. We'll see. Thank you, Jeffrey Adams. We like to celebrate Democrats when they say the right thing, but they don't often do that. Hey, the Rubos. Shout out to the Rubos. Rubo Salt Shop, baby. They got a great deal right now at rubosaltshop.com, and I recommend their salt. It's good. 48 hours, wedding bells will ring, and Rob and Alexis will exchange their vows for a lifetime of love and union. In celebration of their marriage, we are delighted to offer to the Watching the Watchers family this exclusive 35% discount of a 2-pack of our premium Rubo salt called Fleur de Sel 9. And you can use code WTW35 at checkout. God bless you all. God bless you back, Rubos. It's a good deal. It's great salt. Get rid of your Morton's or whatever that store brand crap is. Get some Rubo salt. They're awesome. rubosaltshop.com. Thank you very much for that, Rubos. You guys are awesome. And you have the best salt ever. Buc-ee's is Rome. $500,000? Hell yeah. I'll testify I saw Pelosi plant it. She may have. She may have. Although Pelosi, it was probably somebody a little bit younger, which is why I think it was Liz Cheney. Thank you, Buc-ee's. Sassy Gemini, what's up? I feel like a lone supporter of Kash Patel. I feel like there's so much impatience with him and the DOJ. Don't people just organically know that investigating major crimes takes time? Years in many cases. I prefer they take all the time they need to get it all right, legally and as thoroughly as possible. Just me? Okay, I'll have to own that all by myself. From Sassy Gemini. I don't think you're alone, Sassy. I think that many people, like we can get a little impatient and we can, I think, criticize our own side without, abandoning our own side. It's like constructive criticism is how I see it. And we want to hold the tension. We want to demand excellence from our side. So I support Cash when Cash does awesome things, and I support Dan Bongino, and I think we've given them some pretty good grace here. I mean, there were many people, if you remember, back in March, like, where are the indictments? It's been 2 months. Where are the indictments at? This is ridiculous. It's like, okay, well, they do take time. And I think our timing was pretty fair and pretty accurate, actually. We said about, 9-10 months. They need 3 months to get their sea legs, 6 months to do the initial investigation, and we'll start to see stuff. So we're seeing stuff. And I think a lot of the initial anti-Cash, anti-Dan stuff was because of the Epstein stuff, which was very disappointing. And then we started to see, and I mean, like, if it were not for Lindsay Halligan, by the way, would we have gotten Comey and Letitia? I don't know. Probably not. Okay. So it's like there's been a couple things, and that came in like skidding at the end, right? And Trump had to call out Pam and send that text message to her. So it's like, I feel like we can have love and friendly criticisms of our own side without abandoning them. And I think that's actually more appropriate than just being cheerleaders, and just like waving pom-poms around. Not that that's what you're doing, but that's kind of the idea. So if it comes across like I'm over Cash or something, believe me, if I ever am, you'll know clearly. But we do have friendly criticisms of him and Pam and everybody in the administration, because we're not just cheerleaders who are just waving pom-poms around. We sometimes do that for sure, but we also want to hold attention on our own side so we get stuff done. And Trump was even doing that too, sending Pam the message. Where are you doing, Pam? Bucky's is Rome. What's up? LeBron James pulled into NBA gambling scandal after a friend sold an injury detail to the gamblers. Wow. So maybe he's not actually involved, but his friend was. Wild. Yep. Big scandal. We'll see how far that goes. What's up? Bucky's is Rome. Bruh. No one is monitoring the security cameras in real time outside the DNC or RNC in DC, 3 of the most targeted and threatened places on the planet. Not a cop in sight on an important day in DC. Yep. Good to see you, Bucky's is Rome. Hey, the Rubos are sharing the message from Trump. Yeah, and you heard Caroline talk about this, but basically, Trump was going to surge people and then is not going to surge people. He says, therefore, we're not going to surge in San Fran on Saturday. He says that their mayor says that they're going to, they want to fix it. So they want to give it a shot. And so we'll let them give it a shot. See if they can do it. We'll see. Steele Manning, I'm a federal employee working during the shutdown. Democrats just voted not to pay any federal employees, including their own staff. Party of the people. Man, Steele Manning, well, we appreciate you continuing to actually be a public servant in the face of Democrat obstruction. And we're glad that you're in the government doing what you need to do as a federal employee. Now, the Democrats themselves, some Republicans were giving up their salaries. Remember, Kat Kamak and others, I think, were giving up their salaries. Democrats won't do it. Ruben Gallego in Arizona, the senator, was like, I'm a father, I'm a family, I can't afford to go without pay. Then vote to open the government. So your staff, like his staff, is not getting paid, as far as I know. So the senators will get their money, but their staff members won't. They're honestly pathetic. E. Texley. Hey, the beef herd has fallen and the cost of restocking has risen. The smaller ranchers apparently are having trouble securing loans. Maybe if the Argentine beef is clearly labeled by mandatory country of origin, that will empower Americans. The smaller producers are in a bad position in this manipulated system. Yeah, I don't know much about that, the details on that, but like everything, I want our industries to be supported and secured, and foreign money, foreign beef, foreign influence, foreign technology, foreign intelligence, whatever. Those are should all be secondary towards Americans and our country's strong fortress-like characteristic. Thank you, E. Texley. Shout out to our farmers, man. We love our farmers. We got to eat. This old guy. Taking off tomorrow is probably the most important decision you've ever made. See? That's what I'm saying. It's like, how can I come back here tomorrow after I read that? It's like, oof, okay. Got it. Thank you, this old guy. All right. Glad I asked. Cliff Norman. Hey, Rob, we will make it to Monday. Congratulations on getting married. I know you will. Yeah. I'm worried about me, really, but I'll be okay. I'm getting married. So, hey, Barbecue Tree Horse. Thank you, Cliff. Barbecue Tree Horse. Congratulations, Rob and Alexis. Enjoy the moment. We definitely are. We got some things to do. So I went to go get my tux yesterday after the show. Went over there. Said, okay, let me try this puppy on. And it didn't fit. The pant legs were like 2 inches too short. It was like up at my kneecaps. Put these tux pants on. They're like, yeah. So we're gonna have to lower those. So I got to go back and pick those up this afternoon. We're getting a fresh up on the haircut. Got a couple other errands to run. And then we're leaving tomorrow, baby. So it's happening. We'll see what happens. You know, Rob, we love you and Alexis. She's amazing. Congratulations. Wishing all the best. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. A Rubo prayer. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. This is Proverbs 6:24 through 25. Amazing from the Rubos. You know what Alexis read to me this morning? Ephesians. And the duties of a man and a woman in marriage. Very powerful passage. Spuds, I have posted this before, but it is against New York State policy to question the legal status of truck drivers. And those with CDLs or not, hopefully Hochul's on the hook as well. Yeah, so like that would be a sanctuary city policy. You don't get to ask them about it. And then you would have to sue to challenge that and invalidate that. And maybe the states will get a lawsuit from the civil division since we're seeing a number of these. Hey, Neuro D. Congratulations to the almost newlyweds. Thank you, Neuro. Hopefully you have a blessed wedding day and a lifetime of great memories. God bless you and your family, Robert and Alexis. And Alexis will pop in the chat from time to time on the locals. Super amazing. Thank you, Neuro D. Yeah, we're excited about it. And we really appreciate the love and the advice. You know, your boy's going to need a lot of it over these years. So grateful for it. Hey, Boopsie, you did a good Trump impression of Trump. Crack me up. I tried. I should have written something down. I was trying to what else does he say? But I'm looking forward to this deal coming to fruition. It should be a deal. Yeah. I mean, people are excited about it. A lot of people talking about this deal. She'll be there. I'll be there. We'll all be there. People never thought it was going to happen between your people and her people. You have a great diplomat, Joey. That's true. Joey is the best brother ever. Just done a terrific job being my brother. Everybody likes him. I like her. She likes me. No one has seen anything like it. It's never happened before. Everyone's talking about it. It's perfect. That's perfect. Now I just hope there's no delays, no interference from the deep state, and no cancellations. The whole world is going to be better off and everybody will be happy. Everyone's been excited about this for a lot of time. Thank you for that, Boopsie. That was great. I should have said all that. No one's ever seen anything like this before. It's never happened. Everyone's talking about it. It's just amazing. Thank you, Boopsie. That was great. We love our president, don't we? Hey, what's up, Sassy Gemini? Yeah, I understand. I'm not referring to you or your content. You've been great about Cash. I just mean generally, based on a lot of comments I see. Yeah, I think so. I think I'm seeing less of them, but I understand the frustration. Like, we want action out of our government. And if we don't get answers on a bunch of things, like, we're going to feel like we lost 4 years of our time. So we try to also, I think, add some value to the explanatory process of what's going on. And we fast forward and we start to see some progress. And then we can all just say, okay, great. Comey gets indicted. I'm like, okay, chill out, Rob. Relax. You got one, okay? Rub some dirt on it, Rob. You won't need your telescope this weekend. You'll be seeing stars after what's ahead for some time. Thank you. Have a blessed wedding. This is from Rub Some Dirt on It, a.k.a. Whirlpool Galaxy in the house. It's probably true. It's probably true. Lots of stars. Thank you for that. From Rub Some Dirt on It. Amazing to have you. And good stuff. My friends, thanks again for sending all those in. Thanks for the fun. Thanks for the laughs. And for the amazing advice. Your boy needs it. So we'll pause here. We're going to go over to our after party and debrief on the day. Let's see if we have any X comments before we head over there. We got a couple. Yeah, hey, early show, but this one's evergreen. Newsom crushed again. Good to see you, Neuro D. Thank you. Hey, Timothy, congratulations to Alexis and you on a wedding weekend. Look forward to a full recap on Monday, definitely. And I'll have a ring on my finger. It's going to be a new sensation. Cheryl, hey, congrats. Happy wedding to you and your bride. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Scott Davis. Congratulations. Hellfire Tactical, congratulations. Getting married. We're actually doing it. We're actually doing it. Pretty amazing. Thank you, friends, over on X for sending those in. And now it is after party time. Hey, what's going on? R-Dub, thank you for this very nice dono. As we wrap it up, R-Dub, hopefully we see you in the after party. YouTube friends, just stick around. Should automatically transfer us. Can a fund be set up where donors can voluntarily contribute to help pay for the programs they want to until the government opens again? Meaning the donor can specify they want their funds to go to the military only, WIC only, etc. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I imagine that you probably could, or you could probably just donate to a charity or just individually help somebody, you know, like if you know somebody who doesn't have a paycheck and they're kind of screwed from your church or whatever, then you can, you know, donate straight to them and have them supported that way. But I mean, we're talking like billions of dollars. So to raise that type of money, it would be billions. And I just don't know that there's enough there. You know, if it's not coming from the government, I don't know that we can replace military funding or WIC funding with like a GoFundMe or something like that kind of a thing. Yeah, I mean, all the Democrat billionaires could support a lot. All the billionaires who say we should help the poor. Well, now's your time. Go help your poor in California. They're going to be going to food banks. So why don't you go help them with all your billions in Silicon Valley, Mark Zuckerberg? They won't. They won't. Mock Schnell, what a nice dono. Mock Schnell in the house says, well, hey, Rob. Well, I know I will not be able to be online for the next few shows. So here is a wedding gift for you and your beautiful bride. What a great comment from Mock Schnell. Very generous dono. Thank you for sending that one in. And hopefully you're doing something good, which is perfect because we're not going to be here tomorrow or Saturday, but we will be back on Monday as a married man. It's going to be amazing. And Mock Schnell, thank you for that. Hopefully you're doing something fun. Thank you very much for the big fat dono and the wedding gift. We're grateful for you. R-Dub, thank you. Congratulations to you and your beautiful bride. May God bless your marriage from R-Dub. Man, thank you, R-Dub, for that one. Very nice of you. We hope he does, indeed, and we think he will. You got this one from Rick D. Just the News has released a story from Senator Grassley's office that states that federal judges have used AI to write inaccurate orders. That's not good. Grassley announces judges using AI. Wild. Thank you, Chuck Grassley, for that. Hey, Neuro D, you have some Rumble rants over there. Let's say what's up. I see a couple of these. Thank you, my friends. Thanks for letting us know. Flea Speech. Flea Speech says, congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Bobby G. Love from Denmark. Flea Speech. Thank you for that. Shout out to our friends in Denmark. How cool is that you're watching over there? And congrats to your mom, G, and Joey. They're going to be there too. Joey's the best man, the bestest man of all time. He's going to be there. And Cool Frog, what's up, Cool Frog on Rumble? Says, congratulations. Thank you, Cool Frog. We appreciate it. Thank you for being a member over there too. Awesome. Thank you, Keith. Boiling Point Live. Hey, it's good to see you, Boiling Point. God bless. Boiling Point Live is a great show. Certainly recommend checking that one out. This one came in from Lady Ice. Wishing you and Alexis the best of luck on your wedding day. For better or worse, I pray you stick it out together forever. Remember, when times are tough, that promise is the glue that binds you together forever no matter what. Never let quitting be an option. Try not, do or do not. There is no try, which is what Yoda said. Very smart little green man. Very smart. Thank you very much for that, Lady Ice, saying, may this be a beautiful beginning for a wonderful life. You are a special couple. You complete each other in so many ways. May warm and special memories brighten your day, and always congratulations on your wedding day. What a nice card from Lady Ice in the house. Thank you, Lady Ice, for the very nice card. R-Dub. Congratulations to you and your beautiful bride. May God bless your marriage. Amen to that, R-Dub. Amen to that. We appreciate it. And Elf, thank you, Elf, bringing in 10 new membos over on the YouTubes. Very nice of you to do that, Elf. And welcome to new Membo friends. This is great. So Membo friends, you should have gotten a little badge, and that means as soon as we kick off this after party, hopefully you come over and join us. We'll debrief. We'll take some locals comments. We'll make sure we're not missing anything out there on the day with our locals friends. We got some good comments over there. I'm already looking at them. Yes, indeedy. All right, and let's see. Yeah, great comments. Okay, cool. So, my friends, it has been a beautiful stream. Thank you so much for all the love and the wedding wishes. We are excited as heck. So we're going to wrap it up. Couple of errands this afternoon, and then we're out the door tomorrow. We'll come back on Monday, of course, with a deal as a married couple, probably. So we're excited about it. So before we wrap it up, I want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths. Big thanks to Donut Mind Me, to John, to K Bean, to Carrie B, Neuro D, Janik, Dog Digger, Gigum, Just Rhonda, and Elliot, all modding the fort down for us, keeping things nice and orderly and beautiful around here. But now we're heading over to our members only after party. We'd love to have you come and join us. If not, no worries. We'll see you back here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing the channel, the video with a friend or family member so that they can come and join us when we do return on Monday. But I hope the rest of your week is also outstanding. I hope you're accomplishing all the things you set your mind to. We are coming back here on Monday to get into it again. Until then, I hope, actually, that's for later. When we're back here on Monday, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night and an amazing weekend, my friends. We'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chatting line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers, truth on our side. Watching the watchers, we won't be denied. Watching the watchers, eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through